But yeah, Orlu, as you were saying, as we enter the second semifinal here, Hera is a heavy favorite, and Nikov is going to have to bring it today. But what better map to start for Nikov? He beat Hera in the group stage. They were in the same group on this map 5 weeks ago. And also, Nikov looked incredible against previous opponents like Hart on this map as well. So I like the draft for Nikov overall. I think he's got a pick to get started quickly here. But as we saw against Sebastian, if Hera can kind of have that stable early game, it feels like he's just going to fly economically against anybody.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because in watching that series, and it feels like in watching Hera a lot, it's like the opposite of Viper back in the day, where it's like if you could kill Viper early on, like that was your best shot, and it was like closer to a 50-50, but if he got to late game, he would always win. It feels like if you can survive Hera's early game, it's actually among the tippy-top players, pretty close to a 50-50 if you can get into Castle Age in an even situation.
The thing that I'm curious on, and I don't think Hera would necessarily say it, like I kind of asked him a little bit, but I think he was tiptoeing around being as direct on some of these things. But it really felt to me that Hera yesterday was kind of similar to Leary today. He was just like, I'm going to play my game as hard as I possibly can. I'm going to be as greedy as I possibly can. And until you can kill me, I'm not going to deviate. But I do wonder, like, is it that? Or can he sometimes get caught being too greedy? Because the cross game yesterday, for example, was a game where he had all the eco lead. He had already won a game. And then you're just sitting there like, he doesn't know what to do with it, And maybe he boomed for too long. So, and that's where I think Nikov's going to try and hit the timings today. And Nikov will actually punish heavy boom play better than Sebastian did, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment, and I think it's already really interesting here in game number 1 that Hera's going to go for the Khmer.
True.
A civ that I don't typically associate with really wanting to fight for the pawns.
Yeah, and in all fairness, Hera really hasn't on cross as much as other players have. Hera has opted for more walls and keeping one pawn safe and then adapting. He also loves this civ on Rocky Forest, which is one of his home map picks. So that will bring up some later questions. That makes me think that maybe he will go Georgians there. But Japanese for Nikov, I mean, this civilization's picked all tournament. Very, very strong, very good at what they do. And the last time Nikov played them, he was sending villas to every corner. I think he had a forward siege workshop. Like, he just went so aggressive.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's going to be pretty good against Hera, because if Hera's kind of stuck in his base, going for the one pond approach, yes, he can get a sick eco, but it's going to be very difficult to push out onto the map, and that's the whole game state that I feel like Nikov was able to achieve the other day versus Hart, and I think that's definitely something you're going to need to replicate, because Hart and Hera are so similar in play style.
Now, I don't have all the details to necessarily verify how many games everyone's played, how much homework they've done, but I usually have a pretty strong idea. I'm talking to players, I'm getting a feel, and I think Nikov's the most prepared player in the entirety of the playoffs, honestly. I know he spent a lot of time prepping for strategies he already showed in the earlier rounds. I know that he was doing practice sessions with gold players to keep them up in the upper leagues before week 1 even started. So Hera's known for his prep. I think it's one of the strengths for him, but he is up against a player arguably more prepared here in Nikov. Oh,
yeah, and
almost loses his scout there.
Yeah. That would have been a very unfortunate start. This is not a map that is okay to lose your scout early on, as it's just so important to keep tabs of where exactly your opponent is going to be expanding to the water and when. But both are still going to be hitting Feudal Age at the same time. A little bit more of a streamlined build for Japanese in terms of getting a fishing ship out faster with the early wood savings. And it looks like Nikov still very nice early game.
Yeah, look at Nikov. Some walling in a way that would prevent his opponent from taking his pond with a sneak. And he has a villager walking around the edge of the map. And someone just pointed this out. I have absolutely no clue if this is actually accurate, but it does kind of make sense. Someone says Hera is 2-5 on this map in this season. So I remember he lost a couple games in groups, and then I remember he lost a game to Sebastian on it. So that does track. This might be one of Hera's worst maps.
Which is kind of odd, because if Hera's good at anything relative to other AoE players, it's aggressive hybrid maps, which Cross is kind of the poster child of.
I just don't think he plays... I don't think he actually plays the hybrid style, though. It's like, to keep fish alive and then switch into farms has been his thing. And that's, I think, what's been punished. And Nikov's got the dock up already.
Wow. And, is the outpost too late? Yeah, the outpost is too late. You'd think that it's going to catch a villager going forward, but Nikov is already there.
Now, what you would normally do in this situation is you would send your fishing ship to scout the shoreline. We see that so frequently. But I think in Hera's mind, he's trying to think ahead, and he's opening Town Watch, and there's the fishing ship.
It.
Yep, he sees it. Oh, man.
But he doesn't cancel he cancels the fishing ship, but a little bit later. Timing difference likely won't be too significant, but here we go. Second dock up for Nikov, and he is already going to be out here and trying to make Hera's life as unpleasant as possible.
What did Hera do on this map yesterday against Sebastian on land? He walled like an absolute maniac, right? So, and then his opponent couldn't do anything. Nikov's like, okay, I got that. I'll wall like an absolute maniac, and I'm just going to fight for your pond. Really smart thinking.
And it feels like the longer that you can keep Khmer off of farming, the more they're investing in water, the better it is, as they're just not able to leverage one of their very best Civ bonuses. Scout's not going to be able to attack the villager as the fire ship is out in time, but still the second dock is in here for Nikov. Yes, Hera is to the south, but that's not necessarily going to help him win water, as he also has a late double bit axe.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So bit axe isn't in. Hera won't be able to do too much damage to Nikov. Nikov isn't fully walled in the front, by the way. He's got pretty much everything on wood and gold. So the back dock is producing fish, and the forward two docks are producing fire galleys. This is as streamlined as it gets for water. He doesn't have a single villager underneath his TT taking sheep.
Yeah, the sheep are going to be happy to live a little bit longer for now. Gold at the back is something that you can at least work with in the short run, and then maybe drop a TC on the forward Golden Castle Age. Barracks coming in to be a little bit safer, but I mean, and for the Hera, he has nothing on the land. He has a 3 HP scout cavalry and some villagers. That's it.
Yeah, Hera will feel like he needs to invest everything to defend from this. We'll see if he knows just how much Nikov has in there. There's no way to know, obviously, but I do love from Hera active in the north to see if Nikov is docked there, and then he also has the dock in the south. So long term, that should be good for him because he's fishing in multiple ponds, but he does have to keep this pond.
Yeah, and he's unable to add in even more fishing ships at the back, whereas Nikov is able to do that. Now, he's got 8 fishing ships. I would say that's probably the max that you'd want in a single dock on one pond. But that is just going to be good for our red player early on. And how often do we see Hera with the resources collected disadvantage in feudal ages? That's a beautiful demo hit there for Nikov.
Yeah, perfect start for the underdog here, Nikov. This is exactly what you would have wanted. Pressure on Hera. Hera unable to do damage to you. Hera's scout being extremely weak. And Nikov adding archers at home, which Hera will maybe see, but his scout now dies. And the pressure continues from the Argentinian.
It's all going to come down to the multitasking and the ability to take good engagements. Demo does basically the minimum amount of damage you would expect, as it's still basically a big fight here to the west. Fishing ship numbers are still even, which is, it feels like the most important thing here for Nikov.
Agree with you. I think, Hera's got a really difficult job right now, but he's hanging with him, isn't he? Res collected still even. This could have easily kind of unraveled against him. He could have lost his fishing ships too early. He could have forgotten the dock in the south. So as impressive a start it's been for Nikov, really well played from Hera to adapt to this.
Oh yeah, his defenses of early game pressure is just, it's always so impressive to see. And more demos from Hera. It feels like he is just trying to get these amazing demo ship hits, but it's almost like you have to say your opponent isn't going to be able to micro against them properly.
And Nikov's incredible at that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, Nikov's absolutely incredible with the micro, and he's had more consistent production, and he will take the fish, and he may just take this pond. Nikov with 500 food, almost overfishing his starting pond. That's something to keep an eye on. But he will have archers. If he goes forward to Hera's base right now, Hera can't defend from archers.
No, he cannot, and Hera doesn't even have a house nearby those gold miners, which I find a little concerning, because that feels like something that Khmer should be doing to keep themselves safe. And I will say, I just don't even really like Khmer on this map. It feels like any map where you want to be doing a lot of fishing and not farming, it's like, why play a Civ that's best advantage is going to be farming?
Well, I like Hera with Khmer, and I have seen Hera play with worse strategy or worse civs and win many times. So I think in his mind, if he's comfortable with the civ, he feels like he could just outplay his opponent, even if the civ doesn't necessarily match the map. So maybe that's part of it, but Nikov's moving forward. Hera will not have an army. Fletching won't be in for Nikov, but Hera will land a demo that was actually okay. It wasn't incredible. He'll go in for another one, though, into the choke. Wow, that's sick from Nikov. Just keep the ships alive.
Minimizing the amount of damage there. Hera does click up to Castle Age. Going to be a little bit faster, not likely going to be too consequential one way or the other. Villagers are going to try and make escape to the town center. One will go down as we've got Age of Gates coming in.
And Nikov kills a Vill. I think he'll be happy with that. That's a lot of hard work for Hera. But Hera still hasn't fully lost his pond. He does have... Oh, did he... What happened to the Vill in the north? He lost the Vill in the north. I don't know if you said that.
Yeah,
or
the scout was right there.
Yeah, sorry. There's a lot happening. So Hera's dock denied at 95%. Wow. That's absolutely crazy.
Nikov is not playing afraid, right? He is coming out swinging. He's not sort of over-respecting Hera and is already out here trying to punish his mistakes as he's getting his production set up here at home, probably for Cav Archers.
Yeah, now he didn't scout the south. And Hera is freely fishing that in that entire area. Only 300 resources behind in terms of res collected for Hera. But another villager exposed for him in the north. His scouts need to get here.
Yeah, and it's just like going forward there without any sort of protection or safety. Never mind, it's Hera.
Yeah, Nikov is going to be so frustrated that he never got fletching this game. He did kill a Vill earlier, but he lost those archers because of no fletching, and then that villager would have died with fletching. He's getting it now. But let's not forget that Nikov is Japanese with safe fish, and he's starting to add the fish traps in the back. Good preemptive thinking there.
Yeah, so long as you're adding in the fish traps gradually, and it's not like, okay, you ran out of all your fish at the same time and have no food income, like, you can just keep on adding in fish in your back pond safely. It's no different than a fish boom on any other map. It is actually going to be the War Galley upgrade here from Hera, as he is going to prioritize keeping those fish alive to the south.
And I think if Hera can start to drop TCs, this is where the Khmer could really shine, and he could just shift into those farms. He saves another Vill. Nikov not able to focus on these tiny little moments. And in the north, Hera still walling in that Vill next to a house, so has that pond. We'll try and defend in the southern pond, but a lot of work to do for Hera because Nikov's massing the Cav Archers.
Yeah, and that's going to be the concern here for Khmer, is that their army just isn't that exciting. I mean, like, you have decent enough units, but they have no real bonus to work with, and Cav Archers are just going to scale better than anything here in the mid-game. We got Bowsaw coming in for Nikov, we got a Monk on the way, and it still feels like he's in a slightly more comfortable spot overall.
Yeah, I think the fish traps could be awkward. Also, Nikov added a demo in his back pond by mistake. Yeah. That's super easy to do when you're going to so many docks. I like this from Nikov. He probably can't believe he doesn't have a bigger score lead, or a score lead at all, but he snipes the Vill in the north. That's a guaranteed snipe for him. And Hera did a similar thing in the south. It went out to snipe the dock villager from Nikov. There were actually two of them, so he only killed one of them. Oh, and now a hole for Nikov.
Oh, jeez.
It's just...
And I think Hera realized it because the Vills decided to pathfind around to the side.
Oh,
so he immediately
man,
saw the
it was such a good start for Nikov. It was such a good start. And then a hole in the wall, and the light cav through, and Hera's got to be loving life right now because it was such a difficult start, and he's been able to hold on here.
Well, Nikov is adding in a second TC, but Hera able to equalize the economic units killed so far. More fire galleys coming in, but indeed canceling that war galley upgrade like you mentioned earlier. So I'm not too sure how successful this is going to be as Hera doing Hera.exe. It amazes me that Hera turns every single game into looking exactly the same.
Yeah, that's not easy to do.
No, it's not.
I gotta say, like, Nikov needs to wall that area so it never happens again, like right away, and he needs to just, easy for us to say, but he needs to wait for some upgrades and take a deep breath here. His situation's still good, and it's just, he doesn't have Bodkin Arrow for those Cav Archers. He didn't have Fletching earlier. I think there's so much focus on the positioning. There's not a lot of focus on ensuring those upgrades are in, and against Hera, you do need to match him with the upgrades. Hera now 2 TCs, and Scorpions going to come out of the Siege Workshop.
Yeah, I mean, third TC is well here for Nikov, but he is out of food in the back of his base. He still has 0 farms. Hero's, of course, already got a nice farming infrastructure down. Nikov loses another villager, and you really just have to ask the question of where is Nikov going in this game? He doesn't have good TC production, or rather, he won't in a moment. And without good cav archer upgrades, that's not going to be good for you either.
Well, he is going for a massive CA. The upgrades could still come. And he is adding more fish traps now and drops TC number 3. So the food count's not great, but he only needs to produce out of the TCs. He's not making any military units that cost food. I worry about his military, though, as he runs right into the Scorpions and the light cav from Hera.
Yeah, I mean, Hera's going to have a very easy time defending. The monks are out. He's already picking up relics. Scorpions are coming in. And it feels like Hera could easily be getting a pretty decent eco lead quite soon. Those quick walls are immaculate from him to the north. And again, this is turning into the exact type of game Hera wants to play.
Yeah.
Just sort of getting passive, and he's getting his eco and cavalry going.
I'm going to tell you something. Nikov doesn't know about Bodkin. He doesn't know. He will have to add a lot of farms here. He's gotten trapped. That's so unlucky.
Oh,
he's wedged into the corner. And he was killing some vills with the knight as well. That's good work. But the Scorpions are going to find those CA. And Nikov's just expecting to kill these so much faster because he thinks he has Bodkin arrow now. He doesn't have it. And the cav archers disappear. And oh man, Hera's got to be so happy.
Why do you think Nikov thinks he has Bodkin? He's never been able to afford it because he hasn't had any food.
Well, because you would never have that many cav archers without it. And so he's hyper-focused on the aggression. And he's just assumes he has it. And he probably won't realize for a while here because this is a higher pressure environment for Nikov than it might have even been against Hart. The whole game, he's just...
in the finals.
This is what it was with Nikov, right? It's just like, in the past, we used to make fun of him or make jokes about his lack of eco upgrades, but the reasoning behind it is because he was even more aggressive then than he is now. And I wonder what he does against Scorpions, actually, if Hera can snag ballistics. It becomes really tough to have a response.
It's a good thing Nikov is still being so active, and I love his unit movement here with the cav archers, because his idle TC time is just getting crazy. And, I mean, we've seen Hera win countless AoE2 games just because he can click his villagers, his TC cycles faster than his opponent.
Yeah, this is why I love the map, though, right? Like, this also shows that you don't need to win water. If you transition into lands, you can outpace the water as well. It's such a fine mix. Nikov getting ballistics, so he knows about that, but I still just don't think he knows he doesn't have Bodkin arrow.
Well, that would be extremely painful if that was the case, but the Chimera Scorpion numbers are climbing, and I'm getting a little concerned about that for Nikov, as Japanese don't really deal with those all that well in the first place. But if Hera gets ballistics and a decent mass of them, I don't see how Nikov is going to kill that.
Yeah, you actually can kill Siege with them. The counter to this is supposed to be Siege. Okay, now Nikov, I think, will notice. I think he goes back to get Bodkin there, because that felt like a moment where he didn't do as much damage as he was hoping for. Ballistics is not in yet for Hera. He does have the university, and now ballistics is on the way.
Oh, there we go.
And there's Bodkin. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
everyone's getting to where they need to be.
Yeah, I'm getting one guide a little bit. I know it's so easy for people to be like, why would you not get those upgrades? It's just because of the focus, guys. It's just because of the focus. There was never a fight from Nikov where it felt like he was missing that until right there. The HP didn't go down, and he snags the upgrade. And he's got a nice worker lead, doesn't he? It's 84 eco for Nikov. It's just 70 for Hera. So Hera's comp is pretty dangerous. But Scorpions could still get flattened with one mistake.
Yes, but until players can not make those mistakes like missing Bodkin or like not having upgrades at the appropriate time, they're not going to beat Hera and Lyria in tournaments and challenge them for, the very top, because Hera and Lyria just don't make those mistakes.
Yeah. I think you can cut some corners, though. I think if you can get a 15 eco lead on any of the players you just mentioned, you're always going to take it. The farms are coming up in the back. Quick walls there from Nikov to stop Hera from breaking through. He's super heavy on stone for a defensive castle. And he knows these Scorpions are broken. Everyone's been talking about it. And he knows he needs more siege here as well. 2 mangonels. Probably needs to end up being 4, honestly. And still waiting for Hera to dive.
It really is going to come down to when these players can feel comfortable taking those engagements. Luckily for Nikov, he does have 2 back golds, so that is at least going to be something going for him. And the Scorpions outranging the Mangonels just feels so fun and interactive.
Yeah, that's absolutely impossible to deal with. I mean, what more can you do? You add in Knights, it's not going to be enough. Mangonels are supposed to counter it, and guess what? It's just really not going to easily, and Hera knows this castle's on the main gold, and that if he can get it up, it's going to be perfect for him, and he'll snipe the siege. His own siege will survive, and the castle will be right on Nikov's face, and everything's going to fall apart for Nikov now.
He's trying to grab a defensive castle, and the thing is, despite Nikov having a huge Vil lead, and again, this is what Hera does. His income is just more efficient. His villagers are just perfectly tasked, his eco balance is perfect, and he has all the resources he needs, and now this is going to be an incredibly one-sided fight, I think.
Yeah, Khmer Scorpions outrange Mangonels. They're great against CA, and with the recent change where Scorpions are affected by ballistics, it was the perfect move from Hera. But I actually want to take it back to what I had said in Dark Age here. In comparison to how Hera played his previous series, he went 5 TCs, full walls, no army activity in the mid-game on Cross before, and he solved that here, didn't he? Like, this was a forward castle, this was lots of army upgrades, and he played fairly open, actually, the entire time. So I love the adjustment from Hera. That's obviously not great for Nikov that Hera has made that adjustment, but beautiful job from Hera. The start could not have been more difficult for him, honestly.
7% difference in eco efficiency when Hera was rarely attacking Nikov this entire game is just, it feels like something that you can't get away with against Hera. Like, you can maybe get that away against some of the other players, but not against Hera.
There were a bunch of small things for Nikov. Remember, like, he killed 1 Vil on the berries, but then lost all 3 of his archers. There was weak Vils in the south and weak Vils in the north, 1 or 2 hits away. Like, those are the engagements that Nikov would have wanted to go a little bit differently. And I think early Castle Age he had potential, but like we said, didn't have the upgrades. Maybe the eco wasn't fully set up for it. So that answers the question. Why Khmer? Hera gets the win, even though technically it might not be even in many people's top 10 for the map. And we move on to the next games. But yeah, Nikov's going to have to just be perfect in everything today to beat this guy.
Nikov is going to be rocking Burgundians, which it just feels like are very straightforward, good on this map civ. You know exactly what they're going to be doing. And then Hera's going to go Portuguese, which if there's a civ that doesn't feel like it necessarily suits Hera's style, it's probably Portuguese.
Well, I mean, Hera played Burgundians every other time, I think, on this map in the group stage. So he didn't win the race to that in the draft. And while it hasn't, you're exactly right. I think what Hera would want is boom with the better eco civ and stable units to control the map, and Nikov's got that. So I think Hera might need to force some pressure in the middle a little bit more here. What do you think?
Is Hera going to clown it up? Are we going to see fast imp, full monks?
No. Not from Hera. No.
Way to shatter my hopes and dreams, T90.
But I think what Hera may do is you could still play what's good on the map, which is like have and adapt. Portuguese are fantastic there. But then come early imp, I think you have to shift your thinking towards middle. Winning with organ guns in the middle or just bombard cannon, arbalest is going to be the absolute key here. Because Burgundians, they have their superior bombard cannons at least until Arquebus comes in. And they're, in theory, better for fighting for the sides. But this is, again, maybe an example where we said, I like Nikov's draft. I like his civ. Is he going to be able to stop Hera?
Yeah, I mean, it can come down to the fact that Hera is keeping up with Nikov's eco as Portuguese versus Burgundians, and then is just able to hit into timing with some very cheap units. That is possible, but it's going to be tough. I mean, I do like Nikov's setup. I think that he has very good mechanics. Bidax coming in at 11 pop, which is very good for Burgundians, and I still have at least a relative amount of confidence that this is at least going to be competitive going into Imp.
The maps that Hera's struggled on the most, first one was Cross. He just won. I think I don't think it was actually played that much, but I recall at least one victory in group stage, so it's reasonable. And then Shoals was the other one. I didn't love how Hera played Shoals yesterday. He said he didn't have a ton of practice on it. I think that game will definitely allow him to think a little bit more about what he could have done differently and tweak it. So Nikov has the maps, is my point, available in his draft. But are we going to see Feudal Age play from Nikov here, Ornlu? He's got 2 on wood. You wouldn't normally have 2 on wood at this stage if you were staying or going for the fast castle build.
That is very true. I don't necessarily love that, though. It feels like Burgundians just want to lean into the eco as much as possible. And if Hera can get a faster castle age time and just add TCs and, defend against a few feudal age units, it feels like you're sort of seeding what would be the best aspect of Burgundians here.
Well, so Dow did it with Bengalis, and I asked him about it. And he said he really likes the fast feudal with eco civs because you'll have crazy food eco to boom and make light cav later, but also because you can kill a walling vill. He said if you kill 1 vill, you're happy with it. So I'm looking at this build. Now, I've tried this before recently on Arena, and I find it's still not that easy to do 19 pop if you squeeze in bid X. So it's more so going to be 20, which isn't that fast. But I guess we'll see. Hold on, Hera's doing it. Hera's going to get Loom. So Hera's actually going to go Feudal Age.
Huh. Kind of surprising. You'd think somebody would go Fast Castle on this map.
Yeah, you would think so. But Hera isn't walling. Hera's snagging Loom. Did Hera, he didn't see anything to change his game plan here. This was definitely his build for the most part the entire time, but maybe he also thinks this makes sense for the Burgundians, thinks he would be exposed if he didn't try and match it.
Well, regardless of the case, they're both up to Feudal Age at around the same time. Nikov will have 1 more villager thanks to skipping Loom. And I imagine it will be scouts from both places. I say that, and now it's going over to gold as Hera.
Well, that's confusing. I mean, you can still go Feudal Boom eco upgrades with Portuguese, but this feels like... Oh, he's going to go Tower Archer build? Well, talk about things I wouldn't have put on my bingo card for Hera. He's going to try the Tower Rush Archer play that you'd normally associate with someone like Winchester.
Yeah, and I like it much more on Arena than I like it on this map, because on Arena you can get pinned in your base by it, whereas on this map you just can't.
Yeah.
And because Nikov himself is going for a quick uptime into nothing for some reason, that's what it looks like right
just
now.
Just eco. Yep, just eco. Well, I guess we'll see. This will be interesting. Semifinals, both players doing something different. They're expecting the meta from the other player. That's what's fun. They're expecting meta, and they're not going to get it. And there's the range, and there will be the tower from Hera.
And the tower is right up against the wall already. Nikov is going to see exactly what's coming, and it's just going to be down to, can he stop it? He does have forward forage bushes, which is really unfortunate for him. The gold is not too far back. The wood lines aren't too far back. And this is certainly an area where Hera can take some very good map control. And Nikov could lose a scout forward as well. He is not going to do that.
Nikov didn't see the barracks. He saw the gold being mined, but he also doesn't know about the range then, right? So he doesn't know it's archers yet. It's a bit of a shame when you're Burgundians because you want a lot of time to invest into farms. And now, if you have to respect this, you have to consider a barracks and an archery range. So Nikov is going to do what he can to prevent having to make military against this. And weak walls on the front, Hera will be through, and then there will be archers. You know, I think if it was Hera's strategy against Fast Castle, not sure I love it. But against Feudal Boom, I feel like this is going to give him a lot of reward here.
I guess I'm just a little confused that Hera thought it would be a Feudal Boom in the first place. I mean, I actually even think it's probably your best bet here is Portuguese, unless you're going for a full clown build against a Fast Castle, too. Because
just to do
what
something.
are you going to do? Just go Scouts and Boom as Portuguese versus Burgundians? You're going to fall really far behind.
Yeah, I like it with that logic in mind, right? Because we immediately were just like, Hera can go Scout and Boom, but it would be worse for his Civ. And this here you've got a gold discount. Here going Feudal Age is good for Portuguese. And Hera's archers will see a tower. Nikov is just mining stone. Nikov will definitely want to kill the scout. He will do so and save the villager. Well played, Nikov.
Yeah, great micro from him. I like the attempt from Hera just to see if he can snag an extra villager. But so far, the defenses are on point for Nikov, and he's got enough stone here. Hera only just now has enough stone for an additional watchtower. So what you can do in this situation as the forwarding player here is just garrison the archers in the tower, and you know that your opponent has villagers garrisoned to the tower. You have archers, so that means you theoretically have more vills working.
Yep.
But as far as the defense goes, I like this so far for Nikov.
Yep. Hera will do exactly what you said. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. Now, I wonder if he's going to place the perfect tower, though, because you can actually place a tower where your opponent can't reach your repair vills now that you have fletching. Or building vills, I guess. And, yep, that's it. So, Nikov would need fletching to hit those vills. And Hera's archers are soon going to hop towers. And then the towers for Nikov are going to start going down. I talked to quite a few arena players about this in the build-up for some arena games in the small nation tournament we had. And a lot of people think this build is absolutely broken. Like, a lot of really good players. Now, they say, especially with the melee, which, I mean, what isn't broken with the melee?
Yeah.
But this gives Hera a lot of map control. It gives him time to add his eco. He's not far behind in the res collected at all. And unlike the previous series, again, Hera's come out today with lots of military control instead of just the straight boom, which maybe Nikov wasn't prepared for.
It still feels like this feels so much more natural for Hera than going for a castle drop fast imp YOLO thing.
Yeah.
So, again, if I'm Nikov in this situation, seeing the Civ matchup, knowing my opponent, I actually feel like this would be the thing you expect the most.
I just don't know. Like, with how Hera played yesterday, I mean, yeah, with how Hera played yesterday, I would have expected just super defensive Hera again. Like, come on, try and kill me. But this takes the Burgundians out of their comfort zone. It puts the Portuguese into a position they're pretty comfortable with. And both pretty far away from Castle Age, and Hera making progress on the tower. So pretty soon, Nikov's going to have to build another tower to defend his gold. And Hera could actually repeat the same thing in theory. And build another tower to shoot that down.
Yeah, Hera going to be debating the arrow fire a little bit. I will say that as far as civs go, playing an extended feudal age, Burgundians are pretty happy because their eco is so good. You already
Agreed.
have the Castle Age eco upgrades in. So in that sense, it's not really that bad for Nikov. Now, it certainly is going to be putting him out of his comfort zone. So in that sense, that's good for Hera.
How is Hera losing this tower war right now? Like, this normally doesn't happen. I guess he's got some weak vills in there. Yeah, really weak vills. And he loses one. And he loses another.
Make that 3.
And he loses all of them. Whoa. I mean, he has 2 towers now, but he's brought 4 villagers forward, and he's lost all 4 of them. Look at Nikov's panic queue, by the way. 9 villagers in queue. But Nikov will be happy with that.
And is it crazy for me to say that this is just something that Hera doesn't have as much experience with? And so
Agreed.
The execution isn't quite what we would consider perfect from him like we do with so many other things.
Yeah, I think that's like what he is comfortable with is playing Burgundians, which Nikov stole in the draft. So 100%. I like this from Nikov. Obviously, this looks kind of rough, right? Because the archers are here. He's got a lot of weak vills. You need to be patient with this. That tower's almost up. Complete it. Oh, I hate the positioning of the tower, though, because it actually, well, it's only ranged by one of Hera's towers. And that tower is the weak one. So actually, that's okay.
You don't cast with the circles mod on, do you?
I do not, because it looks horrible.
I agree. It's just... okay, well, the moral of the story, guys. Good positioning on the tower for Nikov. They're both on the way up to Castle Age at similar times. T90 and I barely know what's going on, but that's okay. You can't expect too much from us, guys.
Well, the other tower is shooting the gate. It's not shooting the tower. So... stone wall from Nikov in the north is amazing, and so is the stone wall down here. Because, like, now, like, from Hera's perspective, obviously you don't want to lose the vills, but now you have a really healthy eco to make decisions with. He can flex into a lot of different things. The second TC, third TC. He could also go into a castle drop, which he may do, because he has a lot on stone, and he has the forward position right next to the gold.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes the most sense. It's not necessarily a very Hera thing to do,
Yeah.
but yeah, here comes the Vil train, and I think it's absolutely the correct move in this situation. And I like that Hera is recognizing it, sees the forward resources, and he's just going to go for it.
It's how you beat Burgundians, by the way. If you're Portuguese, if you're Turks, any civ with gunpowder, Bohemians, I think, if you play an adaptable game, it's better for them, for their stables, and for getting those relics. Castle dropping him in the face, that is not what they're ready to deal with. So this was all the buildup. Hera didn't go for the early castle because it's too weak economically and too risky. Somewhat calculated from him, and the castle spot is just like, I mean, it's as clear as day. It's almost like he planned for this, and archers will move, and there's the castle.
Yep.
Yikes, that's terrifying to see if you're Nikov.
Unless the Vils decide to be very derpy, which we always have to trust villager pathfinding.
I mean, Hera could click his house on the right and move the Vils over there more, and then he's not actually in the tower fire.
Yeah, and
should be fine.
Should be doing. Yeah, it's not as pretty as he'd like, but it's gonna get the job done. That's what's important.
And also, Bodkin means he absolutely ranges that tower. He absolutely ranges the TC, and now Nikov's gotta escape. And Nikov walled the outside, which I love, but now he's getting pushed through the middle. So this is how are you supposed to stop organ guns right now if you're Nikov?
Complain to the devs that organ guns are overpowered. That's what I would do.
I mean, Nikov has done that already many times, and they haven't been nerfed yet, and so have I.
That's true.
So
I think we all.
I wouldn't tab out to do that now. I'd maybe wait until after. There is a sneak
That's
stable.
You're the professional T90.
There is a sneak stable from Nikov on the back. 2 of them going up, actually. So Hera's going to try a fast imp here, crazily enough, because he knows that Nikov's eco is going to be damaged by this. And what a fun game. Hera's not going to have any defense at home. He's actually baiting Nikov into thinking he's making more organs when he's really only made 1 or 2. But he has no clue that Nikov is becoming sneak up back here.
I think this is actually brilliant from Nikov, because the worst things you could do right now as Nikov would actually be to try and add eco behind this, because what Hera's going to do is he's just going to click up to imp and then kill you.
Yep.
This play, Hera's castle does nothing to protect his own eco, and if you just come in here with a bunch of cavalry units, Hera's going to have an extremely hard time affording anything.
Yeah, and how many times are you going to win against Hera if you're just reacting to him? You're not. And so he's got a lot of work to do at home, but at least this adds some offensive presence, and I'm curious to see how fast Hera reacts here. Funnily enough, Hera's going to maybe go back to his TC to click imp, but he's otherwise not really looking here, and he'll see it. The knights come in.
That was perfect.
That's an amazing reaction from him, and he walls up the wood line. But I think the knights are still worth it here because look, Hera's trying to leave his base. Hera's trying to leave his base. He still will have no defense. There could be a siege push. This is crazy, man.
There needs to be some sort of range component to this from Nikov. Otherwise, all those lumberjacks are going to be safe. The gold miners are going to be relatively safe. It's really awkward for Hera, but he can click up to the Imperial Age, and all he needs to do is have some gold and stone and then just slap some Feitorias in the middle of the map.
I wonder if it would have been better to go Siege Workshop, double stable. But then you're doing so many other things. You're relocating farms. He's now housed. He's expanding to get relics. It's not easy, but I like Hera's adaptation. He garrisoned the Vils. He'll bring home 2 organ guns, and he will also have a monk. And so for now, he might be okay.
Yeah, we have the siege now coming in from Nikov. I'm not a fan of the defensive mangonels. I feel like for Nikov, I feel like those aren't likely to do a whole lot, because right now, Nikov, in my opinion, attacked way too early, because you're just betting that Hera won't have a perfect reaction, and that's not a great bet.
Well, the siege is really understandable because it was right when the castle went up, right? But Hera's just masterclassed him and baited him into it. Because he goes, you have to be threatened by 10 organ guns or whatever, because I'll kill everything with that. So you need to have siege, and I just won't make them. I just won't make them at all. And, did Hera actually convert a knight?
Yeah, he got an insta.
converting a knight is horrible for Nikov. Nikov needs to kill it! Well, I guess he could still move out because it's weak. But that knight can now be the siege sniper. And Hera can heal that up. And Hera 30 seconds away from his first trebuchet.
Yeah, this is looking extremely bad here for Nikov. He still has lots of vills queued. He is picking up relics, which is always nice with the Burgundians. You have to be careful. I mean, the converted knight is so huge because it threatens the mangonel in a way that none of his other units would be able to. And he doesn't have the repair vill T90. Oh, jeez.
He does kill the monk, but the monks are pretty cheap, and Hera can make another one in 28:43 uptime for Hera. Another monk hops out. The organ guns are defending anyways. Nikov has to run away, and he loses his knight. So that'll be 2 knights for Hera, and Nikov's deep in Castle Age. Soon about to be hit with a treb, and he's going to try the only thing that he could really try, because Imp isn't an option anymore, and that's all-in Castle Age Cavalier.
Well, I've been told that it is that simple, and that the Burgundians would be going Cavalier. So the legends say, as first Feitoria in here for Hera.
That's so
You don't
sick.
have an eco?
Yep.
No problem.
It's
Just
perfect.
build the building that gives you eco.
Yep, it's exactly. It's the perfect play. To not add Feitorias here would be undercutting some of your strength, and Hera could probably add like 2 or 3 of them. And what I love about it is like, everything about this game has been great from Hera because he's made as little as possible and forced the maximum reaction. He made 2 organs, and there was full evacuation of the eco and double mangonel from Nikov. Then he went imp. Now he makes 1 treb, and he's able to go for multiple Feitorias because that 1 treb commands so much respect that Nikov needs to send everything he's got to deal with it. So the only thing I'd say Hera needs to do right now is actually wall the outside. You cannot allow units to come around again. So he kind of has these houses set up. Instead of houses like Hera just placed, I'd like to see them in a circular wall because he could still be attacked here.
Yeah, you do need to be a little bit careful about that. Another Feitoria coming in. Also, would it have been crazy to build the Feitorias on the other side of his walls? Because I feel like that's actually even safer.
Well, I'm okay with this. if like Margugu did that once, and then when his opponent started to push his castle back, then the Feitorias were just in the middle of the map.
You know what? Maybe I should cook less.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, you're not going to use the space for anything else. Really, the only thing that Hera's vulnerable to right now is the outside raids, but Nikov's not doing that. Nikov's waiting. And Nikov's telling himself, by the way, I've got relics. I'm Burgundians. If he went fast imp, he doesn't have a good vill count. And that may be true, but I think when you're only ahead by 7 vills, Feitoria Eco actually pulls ahead here.
Yeah, it's really tough to deal with Portuguese in that situation as the 4th Feitoria is coming in.
Now, of course, Nikov has to relocate his relics. They will only have 4 relics, and Hera already collected the 5 in the middle. And Hera now going for Cavalier. Ornlu, do you know the exact cost? Sorry, not the cost of a Feitoria, but the resources it brings in? Like the ratios? Because I think that...
it's like 11 villagers or so.
Okay.
It's
But
most
it's
food, then gold, then wood, then stone. I don't know the exact numbers.
Yeah, but I ask you because food is higher than everything else, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and that's why Hera's going Cavalier. It's a good call, I think. It could be a little weird against monks, maybe. But I think organ guns would maybe be more vulnerable out of 1 castle production than, say, full-on Cavalier. So it's cheaper for them to make the Cavalier. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Feitorias for Hera as he actually builds a defensive castle because he sees some army from Nikov.
Nikov isn't investing that much into the army over here. I mean, he's making a few Cavalier here and there, and honestly, in turn, Nikov is forcing out a lot of defense from Hera, and this is buying him a little bit more time.
Yep.
Now, we still have to heavily favor Hera's position, but Nikov's ram train is starting to go pretty substantial.
And those knights that Hera's fighting with, they're actually the converted knights, so they won't switch to Cavalier, which shouldn't give Nikov any clues. Oh, hold on. Nikov gets through. Yep. There is a hole. There's not much he can really do, but he...
the ram train has left the station.
Hera, where's your army, bro? He's just camping with Feitorias. Hera, where's your army? What's happening? Nikov!
You need to respect your opponent more than this. I mean... the Siege Workshop was there and the Rams were being built, and this is exactly how you play full Castle Age, guys. Those villagers are in a ton of danger, and now Nikov is completely map controlled. He has 3 army to Hera.
And Hera's dropping a defensive castle to protect his Feitorias. He waited a really long time to come out with army, but you know what he didn't have? He didn't have the knowledge that Nikov was doing this. Nikov has been producing this entire time. Nikov fighting like a champion here. And the Rams could take down the stables too. Pretty crazy. I thought Nikov it was just kind of inevitable that he would die to Cavalier, but Hera just now waiting for the numbers.
I mean, it's going to be tough to actually get to the requisite number of Cavalier to challenge your opponent. All those stables are forward. Hera is going to be well on his way to losing the infrastructure. And because the Feitoria wood income actually got nerfed because of islands, it's actually kind of hard to replace all those stables that you might get to.
True. It all comes back to islands. Ironically, probably an islands game. It was probably the islands game in the semifinals that Hera played against Jordan, I believe, a couple years back. So the nice thing about Burgundians is you can make Cavalier and Castle Age, and then Hera can't make Paladins with Portuguese, so he's kind of capped. There is an HP difference, and of course the blacksmith upgrade difference eventually, but Nikov says, I'll take those relics, thank you very much. And we'll be ready as Hera goes to kill the monks to get conversions, but he'll lose the monks.
That was not Ganji or freaking Andy monk control right there. That was a lot of monks going down here for Nikov.
That's so tough because, like, to get the monks to drop the relic and then click them on the specific target is really difficult. So
it is difficult, but that's what you need to do when you're playing monks, is Hera adds in another Feitoria. I mean, Hera's going to have, what, 120 population in Feitorias?
I mean, he still, if Hera just waits for upgrades, he will have more HP, he will have more attack, he will have more armor, and the numbers are fairly similar here. And Nikov has to keep producing, which means Nikov can never go imp. So Hera might actually just need to fall back and camp a little bit, which feels weird because that was part of the issue he fell into here. But just wait.
It's about deciding when to camp. And I think that's actually, it's been a bit of an issue. Like that losing those monks is huge because he can no longer force a very effective engagement.
Big engagement here. HP's pretty similar. Nikov has the numbers, but it's just the sheer strength for Hera's numbers, and Hera's got the score lead. Hera's an imp. Nikov's seen a lot of Feitorias, and I think the fact that this is close should mean this is so much better for Hera. The monks are advancing forward. Nikov has to back away. The Feitorias are definitely paying off right now.
Yeah, and this is just how insane Feitorias are. If this was Turks doing something fairly similar, you just simply would not have the eco to go for this Cavalier transition.
Yep.
But remember, guys, it's cheaper for Portuguese, so 60 food, 60 gold for a Portuguese knight. And that is going to be game number 2 going to Hera.
That's sick. And that is like, we said in between games that there can be times where maybe you can question the Civ, and he can just out-execute. And that was maybe an example, game number 1, going for Khmer on a map with water. This, though, was so good. I mean, we could have guessed maybe he tries light cav anyways, full booms, 4 TCs, you know, and then just is just, you know, out advantaged with civs. But this is exactly how you want to play it. Portuguese, the only civ that can take advantage of the Feitorias, and Portuguese also just strikes so much fear into the opponent with organ guns. And I just loved the forward castle, 1 organ gun, 2 organ guns. Nikov lost the TC already to the castle, and then he was so prepared for this big army to come in. It never happened, and even though Hera might regret losing the first castle, his Feitoria eco won in the game. That was a masterclass.
Yeah, I think that the first major mistake from Nikov was he went in too early with the knights before he had any ranged unit to actually force Vils to run away from the wood line.
Yeah.
And the second one was just losing all those monks right there when he absolutely needed to win that fight. Because if he gets 5 conversions, things look extremely different.
Well,
because
also,
then all the stables go down.
Yeah, I agree. He needed even just like a scorpion, honestly. A scorpion with those couple knights would have been good. Like 2 knights, 2 scorpions is better than 4 knights there. It was still really nice adaptation from Hera, but I agree. But sometimes Siege Workshops are so pricey. He already made the Siege Workshop at home. He already made the mangonels at home. And he needed to hit quickly. So I think he felt like the longer he waits, the worse it gets. The other thing, too, I actually think this strategy would have been better for Nikov if, like, defending against this would have been better if he was in Castle Age. But the feudal boom, you get pushed off your berries. You have to use a lot of your vills to build towers and sit in towers. You don't have an option for mangonels. So had he gone for the traditional castle, fast castle, I think there he could adapt into it a little bit easier. Get for mangonels, he takes down the first 2 initial towers. Hera never gets the forward castle, and the rest of the game is different. So just things to think about. But, I mean, we just don't know at this point. So I was just alerted to it because I thought that Hera would maybe try Cumans on fortified clearing, but Hera is going to go for the Cumans here. So you kind of know immediately when you see the civilization what the player is going to try. Hera goes for the Cumans. This is, for some players, the civilization they will ban the most. And Hera's been in that camp before. Didn't actually first pick it. So maybe he just didn't think that Nikov would put a lot of value on this. But this has to be something that last night Hera tested out. Or at least he's been saving, right? No one else has tried this.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, in theory, going to be pretty good for humans. You can build the TC in the back. It's relatively easy to wall early on. And then, of course, in any situation like that, humans can be an extremely dangerous civ. That said, I think Koreans are just as interesting a pick in this situation for Nikov. It's not one I think we've seen on this map whatsoever. And if you just go full YOLO, fast castle, castle drop, could we do that?
Well, yes, I think it immediately makes Nikov change his approach. Whatever his approach was, he's not going to be able to do it now. Because I think it was more of an adaptable feudal age play. Honestly, don't even go forward castle. Aren't war wagons good enough where you can just run underneath TCs nonstop and idle all the eco?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's just I don't think you could safely get a forward castle up against humans if they had a few extra scouts. But if you just go like, I am going to go, not necessarily for a Phosphoru, but something in the greater family of Phosphoru builds, I think that is one of the best ways you can kill humans because the war wagons just don't care about TC fire.
Oh, man, but this is like Hera, whose economy, but when he chooses to focus on it, obviously previous game it was Feitoria's, but it's so good. And now he's got this civ, and I'm just wondering where would you push? I've always laughed about this, but no one ever siege pushes. Now you might need to. If you're going to siege push the TC, the starting TC, you have to be at the bottom of the hill on Ravines. It's incredibly awkward to siege push TCs here.
It's very awkward to siege push the TCs, but it's really hard to like garrison the vills in the TC and then send them back to work easily.
Yeah,
because
true.
It's going to be just very difficult as the vills are going to have to travel pretty far away to gather anything from that starting TC. Now, it's a completely different story for the second TC, which is both going to be easier to push and easier to keep villagers working if you're defending.
I think Nikov probably picked Koreans because we've seen a lot of spears and skirms on this map. And they have cheap spears and skirms, so I think that was where his logic was. And also maybe thought that Hera would want to play cav archers. And again, fully armored skirms, very cheap. And then also a map that tends to go late game. It was probably a good shout for Nikov, but I think it's the first time we've seen Koreans on a standard land map the entire tournament.
Yeah, so it's very interesting dynamic. A map we don't see that often, and a civ matchup we don't see that often. And this is potentially the sort of opportunity that Nikov, if he's well prepared, like we keep saying, could look for that important upset and not going down 0-3 to Hera.
So if you were to play military with Cumans as your opening into the second TC, really the only opening that I think is justifiable at a high level is actually archers. Just because for that build, you're sending a lot to wood, which builds you up for the TC. And then if you were to say scouts, you need so much food income to make scouts and also make the vills out of the second TC. So I see Hera's on gold now, so it might not be immediate second town center. And Nikov is as well. So they both seem to be going for archers, but Hera has the second TC option. And I don't know, man. Like, we'll see how it goes. A lot of this feels inevitable because Hera's the big favorite, but I just don't like feudal age and adapt against Cumans. I
feels
think
like the worst civ to do that against.
yeah, but I also don't like fast castle on Ravines. It feels so weird. So it's so uncomfortable for Nikov.
You gotta believe.
Yeah. So uncomfortable. Also, I'm remembering some things now. Hera bans Bengalis on his draft. And I think he bans Bengalis because we've seen 2 games in groups where players will actually go fast castle Ratha here. Here comes Hera forward, by the way, with 5 villagers. He's going to go forward range. What?
Okay, so this is definitely the sort of the catch your opponent off guard sort of strategy because they expect a very passive economic opening here with Cumans.
Yep.
This is obviously the opposite of that, but the cheap archery range here for Hera is already a nice bonus, and now it's actually going to be on Nikov to defend.
I think Hera's kind of like, wait, what? He's going feudal? I thought he was going fast castle. I was supposed to mind game him here. And Hera's scout is lurking all around underneath the TC, which will probably never do any damage. So Hera will steal the sheep. And then we have 5 villagers building a tower there from Nikov in response. Nikov does not know about the range. Nikov does not even know about the barracks. So Nikov just thinks this is a tower rush and boom so far for Hera.
Well, that is in general a very good strategy with Cubans, but obviously not what we're seeing so far. But this isn't that crazy of a defense to try and pull off against the Cuban tower rush here, and it feels like this is going to be extremely difficult for Hera to make work as he loses his scout under the TC.
I mean, he takes his opponent off of golds, but Nikov's doing the right thing here. First off, he can go find his sheep, but he sends the vills underneath the tower. He's, of course, close to his base to be able to do that. Forces Hera away. And it's just, this is one of those strats where you're like, I think it looks amazing if you surprise your opponent, but if you go tower rush archers with Cumans into better range units now, it just makes me think, is that actually what you should have done with the civ? Because now you don't even have the stone to build a town center.
Yeah, it's now getting a little bit awkward here for Hera. He was gathering a little bit of food, but if he just goes back home, then this is officially a sad tower rush.
Yeah, it's going to be... I think Hera will come to the conclusion he needs the TC, and will have to send vills to go get that stone, but... Nice job from Nikov. This is what Nikov needed. 2 OKD. Eco is pretty much similar. I think he had more idle time because Hera's aggression did accomplish that. But Nikov should be fine. Like, getting surprised by these archers, not something I'd really expect. And you get the armor for free with Koreans, so your skirmishers should be able to tank a decent amount.
Yeah, that's going to be a nice way to sort of fend off these archers early on without having that much of an investment. Nikov is going to be back on the food. Having both forage bushes forward is a little bit awkward from him, but he should be able to make this work, minimize his idle time. And now, if you're Hera, do you try and mine a little bit of stone and add that second TC, or do you just play a generic civ?
Well, he needs to defend himself first. And there's a lot of exposed eco, and there's an army here at his base. So the stable's there. And clearly that's his plan. Now, neither player has Bidax, which is kind of rare. So their resources are at the limit. So win or lose, I think both players will say this is far from their best. Look at the idle TC time as well. This has been really messy.
Well, we thought something weird would be happening on this map, and we were very much correct, as fletching is now in here for red, and that is a little bit of an overchop from Hera. That's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, little. I mean, that's a full HP scout there from Nikov. He's just hitting and running. He wants to use this time to balance his eco behind this, and he'll be happy to know that Hera's archers have come home. But that forward range is still there, and Nikov doesn't know about it, actually. So he doesn't...
Yes, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they chased him back here. But maybe the range was on, like, the right side of Hera's base on the front, so... This reminds me of in the past when people would forward more. The forward range is always such a liability because you have to send units home, but Hera has enough at home. His archers will snipe the archers from Nikov. He will lose some of his archers, but the scouts do the rest of the job. I think that's fine for Nikov. You lose similar amounts of archers, but he's got some work to do on the front of his base still.
Well, what I do like for Nikov in this situation is that any amount of even trades just feels good for Koreans, as they're the better civ if humans are not playing a 2TC style. They're both getting double bit axe guys, by the way. And if you can just sort of get to Castle Age here as Koreans, feels like no matter what you do, it's probably going to be a bit stronger than humans.
Yeah, just play full Archer if you're Nikov.
Yeah.
Play Archer and defense, in my opinion. Get to Castle Age and then adapt from there. Taking losses when you're essentially fully walled and have outposts on the front would be really disappointing. And Nikov just out of position so far with his army. Hera running through. But farms are coming up for Nikov. Nikov still has just that one range, mixing in the archers and skirms. And still no second TC for Hera. This would be, if he thinks it could work, this would be the time where I would expect him to be going to stone and getting that TC up.
Yeah, but it doesn't really seem like that's the case. And in some ways, it honestly feels like Hera's a bit stuck. Because he wants to keep making scouts and even some skirmishers, I guess, to continue to apply pressure, which I get because Nikov still has some villagers forward. But that also feels like that's not going to be getting him anywhere in sort of like that medium run.
I think Nikov is... He's still fearing it, though, right? Like, in my mind, if I'm not able to push out and Hera's still fielding all this army, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, God, he's on 2 TCs. Oh, God, he's on 2 TCs. I can't do that. I got to win fights. In reality, maybe Nikov can recognize that Hera can't afford that with all this army, but I think you're still thinking about it against the humans.
It's definitely something you need to be worried about, as there is actually the first villager sniped. Perhaps Nikov did need to send those villagers away from the forage bushes a little bit sooner. Not going to be the end of the world, though, and actually Nikov is back on stone, and he is going to be clicking up to Castle Age ahead of Hera.
Yeah. I'm still really curious. Win or lose, I'll definitely ask Hera at some point if he felt like he was too defensive against Sebastian, and that's why he lost some games, or if that was just better for that opponent versus Nikov, because he has had way more map control today, and the only way I saw him losing this series today was if he gave it up. So he certainly changed that, but Nikov's up, and Hera, he's just a generic civ, which had a cheap stable and a cheap archery range. No other bonuses have been utilized.
And there really aren't that many more bonuses he can utilize throughout the game, as humans, I mean, so much of the civ is timing oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be tricky. Now, I mean, Hera can win with a generic civ. I don't think that's anything we need to be too concerned about.
Yep. I think this was
but it's going to be awkward.
This was just like the mind game into the mind game here is what this was. Hera thought that Nikov would go fast castle and thought that the tower rush and the archer play could kill him. And then Nikov maybe made what Hera would argue the wrong play and went feudal age and has defended very nicely with that. So, sick stuff.
And to be fair to Hera, I think that, I mean, I was saying that I would go fast castle in this situation if I were Nikov, and Hera's response with the forward I think would have been absolutely perfect if that was the case. It's just it wasn't the case. So like you were saying, it's just one of those things that it looks really bad, even though I don't think the thought process behind it was bad at all.
Okay, well you know what is bad is having your castle age advantage be in the back corner of the map. So I get it, Nikov. It's Hera. He's got scouts in your base. You're never killing these with your archers. So if you want to chase them for now, I'm okay with that. But, like, this very moment, as you're about to hit Castle Age, I really think you need to be advancing forward and trying to force the issue. And you just fight that off with spears. You can't have your crossbow in the back of your base.
Yeah, and of course, as we've seen time and time again, so much of the advantage of crossbowmen is just that timing. You're up to Castle Age a little bit faster, and you just have that window, and now you're fighting uphill before your upgrades. That's not what you want. But Nikov is still just adding in his second TC. He's pretty safe at home. He's adding in even a third TC. And this is really interesting.
And now Hera's just trying to buy himself some time. Now Nikov will have the bigger boom. With these TCs, he's got full armor with the Koreans. And he's got the attack now. So Hera could do his best to get some value, but this should be really difficult for him. It's tough to do when you're doing everything else, but I actually wouldn't mind Nikov having the skirmishers on the front if he could control them. Have them be the tanks. But nah, he's just diving in. He just wants to get rid of these skirms so Hera can't play into elite skirm. And Nikov finally having a lead today. I think this might be the first real moment where it was clear. In game one, it was close. But second TC, third TC, crossbowman with Koreans. And Hera needs to go knights now at home.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like the idea from Hera that, okay, let's just get as much value as possible out of these skirmishers, keep the crossbowman number low. But now, as you were saying earlier, the forward archery range is just so incredibly awkward. Nikov is going to run in here. I don't know if he'll be able to find any villager kills, but this is certainly going to make things inefficient. As I was saying earlier, your villagers are pretty darn far flung from the TC.
Well, this is confidence from Nikov. Honestly, if you can think about it, you're going to lose your army. You're not getting away from knights anyways. So kill Vils and lose the army instead of trying to snipe the knights, which Hera might heal up anyways. He's making Hera work, and Nikov is snagging eco upgrades he didn't have before. Another snipe, 3 villager snipe now, and now Hera will dive with the +2. But what a nice little spot for Nikov to find for his crossbows here.
And again, just like Hera was earlier, Nikov trying to extract as much value from his units as possible. He's got some monks already here at home to defend and pick up relics potentially. And now Hera is going to be going Knight Skirm on 1 TC, which doesn't really excite me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this goes now, because if the roles were flipped, we're just like, oh god, how on earth is it possible? But now I'm thinking, well, is it possible? You know, with Hera. So it really, again, I just think he went for the mind games, and he guessed wrong, and his opponent guessed right. And now 15 villager lead for Nikov, ahead in every single way. He'll be up against knights and elite skirm. He knows it's going to be knights, and his monk ventures out and dies immediately on the front.
That was definitely a little bit unfortunate there for Nikov, but he just needs to sit back and relax. You can, I mean, worst case scenario, you can defend with guard towers. Like, Koreans are a civ that they're designed around, they're probably behind economically, but in this case, Nikov is going to be way ahead in eco, and you have great defenses, so I feel like it's just going to be so tough for Hera to do anything.
Well, elite skirm with full armor, though, does counter everything that's out right now. So Nikov will not be able to move out, and if you can't move out, Hera can do a lot with the map control. He's still not booming, by the way. He's still staying on that 1 TC, which, again, maybe he feels too far gone down this route and feels like that's the only way to play it. But soon a 25 villager lead for Nikov, who just sits in his TC with those crossbows and will add a mangonel behind.
I mean, I'm always scared of giving up map control to Hera, but at the same time, I don't think Nikov actually needs it right now. He just needs to defend, leverage his eco, because the resources collected are dead even right now, so it's going to take a little bit of time for Nikov to really leap ahead in that area. But just develop your eco, rely on guard towers or a castle as needed, and just sort of get to that next stage of the game.
It's tricky because in the player's position, you want to resist spending your stone and save for a castle. And so not knowing that there's a siege workshop on the front is pretty critical right now. If he knew there was a siege workshop there, he would guard tower by his TC and it'd be completely fine. But if he waits, then things get trickier there. And he still doesn't know. And Hera's first mangonel's on the way. Nikov is getting Town Watch, though.
Like I always say, Town Watch saves lives, kids.
The skirm saw it. He converted the skirm, and the skirm saw it.
Oh, great catch there. Yeah, the knights are going to be able to charge in and snipe the mangonel, but there's still just a limited amount that you can actually get done here. You have to be careful as both players in this situation, and the skirms just decide to not care at all, and they're just going to run right in.
Smart, because the monks can't hop out of the TC, and the crossbows can't exactly get too close here. And again, if the roles were reversed, you'd expect the mechanics and the control to be borderline perfect, but this is a lot of pressure for Nikov. There's a lot of eco to manage. And things are going so wrong for Nikov. His crossbows could go down. His Vils back here could go down. And this could completely turn the game around.
Oh, what a beautiful dive there from Hera. Just recognizing that the monks were just not be able to do a whole heck of a lot. And now this Night Skirm army is able to completely ignore the fact that Nikov was mostly walled, but not completely. And now Nikov's the one who's trying to chase down his opponent's army in his base. Half his eco is idle, and this is just such a nightmare to deal with.
He does have the monks for those knights, and he lands a big shot. Hera will likely never escape. He could lose all of his army here. Now, Nikov won't be able to truly fix his economy until everything's gone. And the Knights from Hera could dive right in again. But this is full-on 1 TC. Remember what you have to focus on. Hera's just the military and the army. So you're expecting his micro to be better. And Nikov has to control everything else. And so technically, if you can control everything else, Nikov's position is better. But, oh god, he doesn't land the shots. He doesn't get the conversions.
How do you not get a conversion there?
That's so unlucky. How does he not get a single conversion? Disaster for Nikov.
That fight should have been so much better for him. I don't even know how that even worked the other way. This is just such a nightmare to deal with. You're so far away from a defensive castle, and everything is falling apart.
Hera didn't have devotion either, right? Did we miss that?
No, it's just...
I don't think he has a devotion.
No,
I think it just didn't. Yeah, the conversions didn't pan out. And now Hera should know, even if he has the Vils, he doesn't have the efficiency that I do. And now I can go for TC2 and TC3. Just, you had a feeling that Hera was going to be able to find a way, and Nikov has nothing now. Knights can just continue this cycle, running underneath the town centers. And I would be kind of tilted if I were Nikov, because before you got outplayed, every aspect of the game, maybe, one could argue, here, it felt like he was in such a good position, and it all fell apart. A credit to Hera, that dive underneath the TC was just the perfect play.
Yeah, like, tactically brilliant. 10% more efficient in eco from Hera, and that was just a disaster of a game from Nikov. It's one he absolutely should have won, but he got out-microed heavily and was just out of position at the worst possible time.
Now, I want to go back, and I want to show the reasoning behind what played out there. I think it's important. So, Ornlu, you probably won't be at the exact time, but I'm just running it from 29:37. So, Nikov's defense, he's got the monks there on the front. Hera goes to snipe those monks. And so Nikov tries to go in the TC with the monks and out the other side, and then you have to convert perfectly, right? And so, unfortunately for him, that's a lot of actions at the same time. And his Mangonel dies, and the second his Mangonel dies, Hera goes, wait a second, my skirms don't have to worry about any of this. And he just ran through to the side with the knights. And now Nikov needs to wait for another Mangonel. And then
he didn't have one queued up before.
And he didn't have one queued up before. Exactly. So it's just like literally everything went wrong because of one dive. And some people are going to say you need to wall that. But I think more than anything, I think you need to have actual map control. And you can't be like, it's so tough because Hera played it so well, but you can't be the one defending that heavily because Hera might find a way. So I worry for Nikov now because that will feel like a throw for him. He also may be pissed at the fact he didn't get conversions in the back of his base, which I think is completely justified. And yeah, hard to find belief right now.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels... this entire tournament felt so inevitable for Hera and Leary.
Yep.
Which is kind of unfortunate because there were so many other great storylines that are just going to be running into the freight train that is the two former AM players.
And so yesterday, in the quarterfinals, Hera lost a game on Shoals, and I really didn't feel as though his approach was that good. It was, of course, a great game. Hera got to 200 pop, like he's going to do. But I just wonder if being able to lose that game against Sebastian and play it as long as he did and get to Imp allowed Hera to think about the tiny tweaks he needed to make.
Yeah, and if there's something that I have a lot of confidence in Hera in, it's going to be able to make those adjustments. Like, he will learn from any mistakes he makes. It's how he's improved so much over the past few years.
Yep.
And just going to adapt what he thinks he needs to do in that situation to get more comfortable in a given game and not let things be a completely chaotic mess.
Yeah. And so what I felt was what I feel is the theme for anyone who loses this map is because at this point, everyone's economies are really good, but it's really just the timings and the focus on the golds. And it was just very clear. Hera was so late to the gold there. His opponent played around that. And then he just couldn't afford to stay in the game. So I expect some tweaks, but two pretty solid water civilizations here. And civilizations that people normally kind of complain about when it comes to land presence.
It's pretty funny. because it feels like any civ that doesn't just default go into knights is a bad civ, according to the
Some
AoE
people,
community.
yeah. Yeah.
I know you've seen that.
I mean, Armenians can make knights at least, which I think is good.
Yes.
I'm thinking about this. Actually, we saw this matchup one time. It was freaking Andy and Dark in the group stage, and the Armenians ended up winning with 100 HP champions and skirms around the outside. That's what it was. So you can do it without water control as the Armenians in this matchup.
Yes, and I remember that game. It does feel like Dravidians have the better land army, though. They have
Per pop.
elephant archers.
Per pop, I would say. Yeah, like population efficiency, I think so, because of elephants and elephant archers specifically. So if you can get to 30, 40 elephant archers with 4 bombard cannons, it kind of feels tough for the Armenians.
Or Urumi.
Or
Just
Urumi.
saying.
We did see Leary try that, but he tried pretty much everything against Doubt in the group stage. He went like Wood Steel Halp, he went Skirms, he went Elite Elephant Archer, he went Bombard Cannon, pretty sure he went Siege Elephants. Like, I don't know if you saw that game, but we actually almost ran out of gold.
I saw the end of that game, and I was like, how on earth did it get to this point?
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah, I remember that one now.
So I think Hera's still probably going to go galleys here. I think he was pretty happy with winning water, but he probably will try and tweak some of the things that he felt were problematic in later stages. Nikov, I'm not too sure. Well, Nikov, I am sure, actually, because he's queued up Loom. But I was just going to mention I think Dravidians can actually be pretty good with a fast castle, and we have a 50-50. The player who's 0-3 always takes this because they need luck. Is Hera going to take it? Watch Hera win this. Oh, Hera bailed.
Howard.
Oh, and now Hera's down a hit. Sea Tower? No! Oh! That was sneak up down. I got so confused there. I'm so sorry, but both scouts go down. I guess that's fair.
Yeah. As always, perfectly symmetrical violence solves nothing.
Or Lou. So if one of these players was Yo, the second the scouts are dead, Vils would go forward to go land because they can't scout the forward. But I don't think these two will do that.
Nah, that with these two players, that seems significantly less likely.
Yeah.
What is going to be likely is, as you're saying, the double galley opening. What I don't want to see from Hera is triple dock galley, because I don't think that's actually worth it in this situation. But I don't think we're going to see that. I
don't think triple dock galley's worth it either, but Leary did it and still played the rest of the game really well, and Hera may opt to do the same. But I agree with you. I think because of the presence of the Sea Tower, double dock's more than fine. And then if you want to really invest in the Navy later on, maybe later you can go third dock. But the key, regardless of what they do, is everyone has to keep in mind that there's limited gold at their base. There's only 4 tiles. Sorry. So eventually, if you're investing lots of gold into the water control, you're going to need a TC up on the right or the left-hand side.
T90, if half the players in this tournament can't remember that they only have 4 tiles of gold in their base, how can you expect Twitch chat to remember that? Come on, man.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm reminding the players or if I'm reminding Twitch chat half the time.
It's always confusing in that situation.
But it's
but
so,
you are completely right, of course.
It's tough though, because it's like, how often do you see someone like 2 pro players open with the same build and then not try and beat the other player in some way, whether it be with upgrades or whether it be with numbers? So the logic is there, like, you're both going galleys, especially if the Armenians have the extra arrow. Nikov's going to feel like he needs something. But I think where the important thing about water here is that you don't lose it so fast that your opponent can just actively fish boom like crazy. And as long as it's competitive enough, there probably won't be a ton of fishing ships, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I actually think you're super right on with that, because there is such an enormous difference between adding in 4 fishing ships at minute 11 from adding in 4-minute fishing ships when you've both clicked up to Castle Age.
Yeah,
it really just feels like all the world of difference.
Yeah, and it's because of when you make it to Castle Age, you've limited wood to spend. And sometimes what will happen is someone will win the water, and they have to choose between fishing ships and TCs. And if you choose between fishing ships and TCs, then it's even, because the opponent will go for TCs, and you delay yours by 2 to 3 minutes. So,
yeah, and it all kind of evens out. That said, Nikov is just getting himself all comfy cozy set up at home, is getting fletching faster, so he's going to give a little bit better potential to take fights. And honestly, with Hera's positioning, I wonder if Nikov should just sail around and try and snipe fish. Like, you know exactly where your opponent's navy is.
Yeah, like, what is Hera thinking here? I guess he doesn't know about the other dock. That's a very weird position for him to sit in. I think, again, maybe just a sign that not quite as used to playing this map, or maybe just a rare moment which Hera could get himself out of, but Nikov runs behind him, Nikov weakening the ships, and Hera's galley investment is just yikes mode here. I mean, he didn't have fletching, he didn't have the numbers, and Nikov off to another hot start.
This is like me playing water maps against T-West, where I'm just like, those galleys will take an even fight, and then you kill nothing.
So I think if Hera can just get up to like 6 galleys again and just sit underneath his tower, he can at least hope that Nikov continues to invest a lot and have enough navy to stop Nikov from feeling comfortable adding fish. Because I don't think, like right now, Nikov's still adding more galleys, right? There's no eco benefit really to his situation at the moment.
Yeah, and I will say that you look at the galley numbers, it's 9-4, and you can basically see that here as Nikov. Being up 9 galleys to 4 is basically the same thing as being up 13 galleys to 5.
Yeah.
So even getting in a round of fishing ships, just like, okay, we're going to skip a round of galley production to get out up to 7 fishing ships, that alone would be a huge advantage.
Agreed. So yeah, get to 12 and add the fish. We're in agreement, right? That's what I think.
Yeah.
Now, no one's doing it, but that's what I think is the play. Now, what we do see is you'll see the farms earlier, or you may see like the market earlier to buy and sell. And Nikov does have more fishing ships than Hera already. Hera only added 2 for this. So another game, like, I'm trying to think. So game 1, I loved Nikov's opening compared to Hera. Hera ended up winning, of course. Game 2, I think is very even. If anything, I think I preferred Hera's opening. Game 3, definitely preferred Nikov's opening. But he's just not finding the wins, right? He can't close it out when he gets a bit of a lead. That's been the issue here.
Yeah, absolutely, but Hera's still making plenty of galleys. Now, the advantage usually of going 2 docks versus 3 is that you can get a much faster Castle Age time, as you're just spending fewer resources on Navy, but that is going to not be the case here, as Nikov is just about ready to click up to Castle Age, and in this situation, I think you can be pretty comfortable not taking a fight until your upgrades come in.
Yep, agreed. And then maybe add the fish. If he can win
Nikov,
the water.
don't do the thing that Hera just did, where she sailed himself into a corner. Okay, there we go.
Hera will go and look for those fishing ships, knowing he's behind on water. Senses Nikov is coming in from the side. And Hera still not up, but Nikov used the market and sold all of his stone to click up. And another crazy engagement from Nikov with these galleys.
Yeah, I mean, Nikov still only lost 1 unit this game. That's very impressive unit control so far, especially considering that he's down 0-3 against the best player in the world. Hera does click up.
Is it worth adding, like... I guess I was thinking maybe you add some fires to take out the sea tower, but I don't think you can do that until you know you've won the galley war, and that's still not determined.
Yeah, I don't think that's something you should prioritize. And to be honest, T90, this is the first time in the series that we've actually seen Nikov out-control Hera, or even control him at parity. Because other than that, it feels like Hera's just won every engagement he could.
Well, I mean, previous game, maybe it was there, right? Like, the KD was better for Nikov at the start. The opening made a bit more sense for Nikov, at least compared to Hera, who took a bit of a risk, maybe. But, yeah, you're right. And props to Nikov, like... I mean, geez, you don't need to look too far. Everyone's already saying it's going to be a sweep. And Nikov here, he's got to fight those thoughts himself and still bring his best level when he's down 0-3. So, very easy. Very difficult to bring your best level in the first place, but then when you're down 3 games, it's even tougher here. So, well played from him, and War Galley and Bodkin on the way. And TC number 2, which will be on what's left of his gold in his base.
Yeah, I actually like this. Go for one TC on your other gold, and then have the TC number 3 go on the gold on the outside. Because if we see the triple TC in your own base, that's when I get really concerned that you're not pushing out to the gold fast enough.
Agreed. Nikov also adding scouts, which I think is textbook for the map. And especially when they both lost scouts earlier, you can know if the players are making moves for those golds. And there's 7 relics on the map to contest. Nikov will see Hera has an additional dock here, and we'll know that Hera will continue to fight on water. And so he's trying to take down that dock. I don't think he'll really be able to.
I don't like this T90.
I think he's going too far. He's going too far. Yep.
Okay, he's going to sail away now. Before the galleys pop out of the dock, Hera's going to be able to get his own upgrades in. He had a really nice job of avoiding fights before he could get his own upgrades in. He's taking a couple volleys right there, but now the upgrades are in.
That's good.
You have the ship advantage as Armenians in terms of quality, and this should be looking a lot better here for our blue player.
Very interesting, right? Hera going full water. He's going full water. It hasn't really reacted to a spearman on his gold yet. So he's the player that's likely to win water. But what else is he missing out on? There's the TCs for Nikov in good positions. There's the scout from Nikov scouting the map. So similar in approach from Hera, where he goes for the water and then boom. And still no big moves for him to add the TCs.
Yeah, he's even grabbing the fortified church here at home in a safe location away from the water, notably, which I think is a nice little move. And of course, yes, you do have lots of relics to pick up on this map, and you have incentive to do that as Armenians, but I still think I like Nikov's approach overall.
Agreed. I really think Hera, he's over-investing into water, and he won't have a lot of immediate benefit to winning it. I think while he can feel very comfortable with said water control, especially if his galleys can range that TC, and I think they can, which could be an issue for Nikov, but the eco should be climbing for Nikov here.
Already, we're looking at a 5-vil lead. Yes, the res collected are even for the time being, but that will get a little bit better over time for Dravidians. Those fishing ships decide to go in the wrong direction as one of them does get sunk finally. And that's actually the first eco kill of the game, guys. And I gotta say, Tinity, getting into the mid-game on this map, it's where I think it just becomes so strategic and tactical, and I think this is where the map just becomes so fun.
Yeah, this is what the map's about. Nikov is completely stopping production on water. He's not doing it. What are those ships doing, by the way? Dance party? What? What's happening? I've never seen that before.
I whip my sail back and forth. I whip my sail.
Bro, I don't know what that is. Anyway, he's trying to intimidate Hera, so Hera doesn't engage. And Hera will obviously fight. He's got a much bigger navy. Now, the sea tower has murder holes, so the sea tower will help take out some of Hera's navy here. But Hera finally wins the water as he brings villagers to the side where there's already a town center from Nikov. Nikov could see this.
Oh, this is so awkward, but the deer!
Nikov, don't kill a deer over your Siege Workshop Foundation, bro!
Oh, no, what is this?
What?
Monk is on the way, but the warrior priest is there. And remember, you need atonement to convert to warrior priest. So you can't just convert that one right away either.
Bro, like, building a TC that's rangeable by the Navy is criminal. Like, now Hera's Navy can actually have benefit. Criminal's maybe a bit extreme. I need to calm down. But nice job from Nikov to get the eco lead. He's got to keep it now. And Hera, only 8 on food, will send Vils to the other side. So clearly an adjustment from him. Because he obviously knows he can't take this gold very easily.
And I will say that although the TC is rangeable by the war galleys, a mangonel sitting under the TC with some Vils nearby are like that's basically impossible for the war galleys to snipe.
Yeah,
that said, first mangonel's out here for Hera, and of course, Dravidians are literally an irredeemable civ with no redemption.
No redemption. Hera pops out with his mangonel. Nikov has the advantage potentially, and Nikov with the shot. Really well played from Nikov. And look at this. He's also going to drop gates. I actually would like him to build a gate the other direction, though, and block off all the surface area so Hera can't hop out. But Nikov's got a really healthy Vil lead here. Hera has the Navy, though.
But this is always the Hera factor. Nikov has a huge build lead and is ahead by 600 resources. It's not that extreme.
Well,
Hera is able to add the TC on the right side, so unlike the earlier game we keep on referencing, Hera's out on the map as he needs to be.
Yeah, the other thing too is Armenians. The wood and gold upgrades from your mule carts are more efficient than like Bosal and gold mining would be for other civs. Plus, you get the mule carts, and plus Hera has the very safe relics. And I really like the safe relics because this is going to get messy. So having that church at home is insane. And this TC is just such a target for Nikov. It's such a target. This was supposed to be his advantage, and it will go down. And I guess maybe he does the correct thing to just give it up because trying to fight here doesn't seem very likely he could keep it.
Now, as far as I see, Hera is unaware of the elephant archers, and a few elephant archers, they can easily come in and take down a bunch of mangonels. Nikov will be able to rebuild the TC. It's not the end of the world for him. This map has tons and tons of resources.
Yep.
It's not a complete disaster.
I agree.
Although, obviously, Hera's fighting his way back into this quite effectively.
Yep. I agree. Hera adding fishing ships now as well. Took him a bit of time on that, but his farms are amazing. And he did lose a mangonel, as at least I looked away. But now he sees the ranges, and that's not common. When you go Siege Workshop, you don't expect your opponent to go for follow-up archer range response.
Hey, I know I'm going to say that I like the elephant play no matter what, but I actually do really think it's good here. You've seen that your opponent isn't investing in monks, they're investing in warrior priests, and even then, not that many. And so in low numbers, they're going to be able to kill the mangonels really easily.
And Hera's no clue. I think he sees that range and is assuming that was something that Nikov did earlier that he stopped producing out of, right? But I like this from Hera. Sebastian did this to him. Bring the siege around the sides. So he could pressure the stone there. And there's also the warrior priest on the other side attacking the vills. So very difficult for Nikov right now. There's a lot of different things happening. And Hera getting that boom going with the gold, which, as we said, critically he didn't do up against Sebastian in the quarter.
Yeah, and he's even secured the right side with 2 town centers. The mangonels are here. Actually, that's 1 mangonel that should be surrounded and killed by villagers, but this requires good multitasking. Nikov, though, looks like he will be able to not lose any vills to this, I think.
He's got wheelbarrow. He's fast. And he lost a couple, but he ends up being fine. And now Hera. Does Hera know about the elephant archers? Because
I think so. He's walling.
Well, he's not walling everything. He's not walling that quickly. And the elephants are here. Surprise, Hera.
Oh, this is the classic Ornlu forward elephant build. They never expect it.
Yeah, and then when you're losing vills, you say, how can I be losing to such a noob strategy?
Exactly.
It's the real mental battle, right?
I literally had a similar situation to this with Dravidians like 3 days ago.
I love it, dude. I love it. Hera trying to go for monks now and maybe thinking about skirms, but the elephants can tank underneath the TC. Nice shot from Nikov to stay competitive, and he's got elephants around the right side as well. You know, if Nikov can send some vills to go drop a castle on the right, Hera might not be able to have that gold.
It's going to be tricky, and I like the fact that Nikov is trying to pull Hera in different directions.
Agreed.
Now, of course, we can rely on Hera's multitasking to be good when needed. He's now making his skirmisher switch, but as Nikov is applying pressure on the left side with the elephants and the siege workshop,
this
castle
is so
top
good.
on the right, I think, would be amazing. And he's about to click up to Imp T90.
Again, like, anyone who's thinking Nikov's not playing like an absolute god today, look again. Like, he's about to click up to Imp. He's got the better boom. He's going to castle drop the right side. Hera doesn't have army yet. I mean, if Nikov, he needs a market. No, if he could get the market up fast. No, Hera sold the vills. Hera sold the vills. Not having a market.
Doesn't see it. Oh, Nikov doesn't see the vills even trying to build the castle. Oh,
well,
that's
it's still
awkward.
Oh, God. Oh, God. He thinks there's a church there. He thinks there is a church. Oh, poor Nikov, bro. This castle should be up. This should be Imp. This should be Trebs. Hera should be dead. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
This isn't going to be a doubt castle, is it? Okay, there's already an armored elephant queued up, but that is indeed to the north of the map. Okay, the castle's going to go up for Nikov. I'm
fine.
Relatively confident.
Me too. You could tell by how silent I got, how confident I was.
Both of us were just watching. There's no commentary necessary at that point. single person watching this game knows what's going on.
Well, Hera should know, because anytime someone goes for a castle like that, that's going to be imp, right? So he needs to take this castle out. And he's actually doing the right play. He's going to go petards and add a siege workshop to maybe go for rams. Now, Hera has defended from these elephants pretty nicely. But what the elephants did do is they forced Hera to delay his imp time, make a bunch of skirms, and lose focus on this area. So, bombard cannons is the long-term play for Nikov. Bombard cannon skirm probably would be good. But I am noticing that this navy from Hera sniped a lot. Look at the kills. It's killed 15 villagers. So, like, the navy for Hera is catching vills as Nikov sends units across the map, and it's giving Hera a bigger eco lead than maybe you would have thought.
Yeah, and of course just the macro from Hera. I know it says his idle TC time is more, but that's just because he has more TCs in the first place. It's actually been extremely good from him. Nikov hits Imp, though, and he already has the Armored Elephant in position to do some damage.
Yep, and you can get Chemistry and then aim for Bombard Cannons. Eventually you can re-win water if you're Nikov, but that is after you start to win land. Nikov also has Petards. Hera still hasn't clicked Imp. Hera could lose his castle.
Absolutely. And you know what, T90? I love that Nikov waited until the Armored Elephant drew the fire of the castle. So
that was so hard. Sorry to interrupt here. But yeah, he waited for that. And Hera didn't have anything to bait on the other side. And he lost 3 of his petards.
Yeah. That is just exactly how you need to micro in that specific situation. There is a tower to try and deny this castle, even though that has around a 0.2% chance of working.
Dude, this is a crazy game. There's still Ram on the right side from Hera. The castle's coming up from Hera that'll probably complete, pushing Nikov off the gold. Nikov will need a castle over here now as well. I still don't think Nikov researched chemistry. And guys, you're trying to produce from ranges that are and siege workshops that are on opposite sides of the map. Nikov, don't use a Treb against a ram. That's not going to work. Please don't lose your castle on the right. What is happening? Hera's on the way to Imp.
He's going to send the elephants back. They'll kill it.
Yeah, elephants will be back. Okay. But Hera limited gold is the story, right? He's got 5 on gold and 4 relics. He does have an amazing food eco, though, to make skirms. And skirms could be a pretty good unit in this situation.
They can, but Dravidians just have the better skirms in the first place. It's definitely still something to keep in mind. Also something is that Dravidians have far better siege than Armenians, so you can go for some cheap mangonels or onagers, and that would be a really nice way to supplement your army.
Man, what a game. What a game. What a fight. I respect Nikov so much that he's putting up this much of a fight after how easily it could be to lose your mentals with how the series has gone. He's not only that, but I mean, the execution's been fairly clean. The KD's very even. He has lots of relics himself, and he's got trebuchets on both sides now. Hera's still such a long way away from Imperial Age.
And this is just going to give Nikov more time to round out his eco. He's back to 121 vills, which is basically where you want to be at this stage. He's getting his skirmisher upgrades. We already talked about his better quality skirmishers. And he's just still being so active in pushing Hera from 2 fronts at once and pushing him off the gold. I mean, it's just exactly how you want to play this map.
Now, when Hera makes it to Imp, how heavily, like, what does he focus on? He's got limited gold, so it's hard to decide.
It's tricky, right? In a magical world, he switches to champions. I don't think you have the gold or the time to do that.
I guess.
So do you just try and outmass Skirmisher?
I guess, like, champion is your home run swing. He's getting armor upgrades. You could sell food to get enough gold to make some of them, maybe? I'm surprised Hera's not going Light Cav, though. Like, Light Cav at least don't cost gold. I think Light Cav, Skirm, and then later on Champion, if you get gold, makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, the Light Cav idea isn't a bad one, but Dravidian Skirmishers against Light Cav that missed that final armored upgrade are probably not even all that bad.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, it's a tough situation for Hera. Not in terms of the series. He can lose this game and still sleep tonight, but there's castles on the gold areas from Nikov. Nikov, he needs to spend that gold on something. He's going to spend it on siege for now. Would love to see him think about the elephant archers that we discussed earlier.
Yeah, that's going to be your end-all, be-all in this particular case as Dravidians. Now, Hera is upgrading his militia to the more powerful men-at-arms, so he is looking for that
with no
home
gold.
run swinging.
So he's got to go man-at-arms all the way to champion with 0 gold, with 5 relics of gold income. Like, that's not doable, is it? Am I crazy?
It shouldn't be doable. And remember, guys, Dravidians do have hand cannoneers. It's not at all a difficult switch to go into hand cannoneers when you already have the ranges down. Another castle coming in here from Nikov. Hera's going to be, incredibly hard-pressed to defend any of these castles at this point. And Nikov, he is trying to creep closer and closer to the win.
I'd love to see, actually, if Hera's going champions, Yurumi Swordsman could be pretty ridiculous here. You'll have 2 castles on both sides. Nikov is getting infantry armor himself. That might be the plan. Hera going for Dramens somewhere. They'll be on the shorelines to help stabilize and push, maybe. And there is the 2-handed swordsman upgrade. Again, Hera, the only gold income he has is from 5 relics. That is not enough to produce a lot of champions on its own.
Yeah, remember, guys, a relic is basically a villager and a half on gold. So you could say that Hera has 7.5 bills on gold. And if you think about it in that way, that's nowhere near enough to produce a lot of swordsmen.
But if you sell wood, which you have a lot of,
yep,
you get 300 gold, like right there. Now that gets worse over time. So you probably have one really, really good fight in you. Because he did also get Feritors. Oh, no, he didn't get Feritors. Sorry, I thought he did. Now he's researching
it. No, he got
it.
Stoats instead. No ferrets, just Stoats.
Okay. Well, the Feritors is on the way, and that'll give him the upgrades we're talking about. Nikov going for man-at-arms himself. I think Nikov's skirms in the back maybe spotted something. I'm trying to see. No, he didn't really see an obvious indicator that Hera will go champions right now.
Now, I have no idea if Woot Steel champions are better than Armenian champions. It's never a test I've done. I really should. But I like the fact that at least it's a lot cheaper and easier to switch into the champions here as Dravidians, and you can add in hand cannons.
Love the timing for Hera. This is a surprise. Yes. This is the surprise element he needs. Now, he's still going to need the siege, and he's still going to need a lot more than this. Like we said, it's still only 2-handed swordsman, and so he takes out the bomber cannons, but I'm not... That doesn't really excite you when you consider the fact that Nikov still has gold on both sides.
Yeah, he's got 3 relics of his own, so he even has that little bit of a boost. The swordsman switch is coming in, and with Dravidians, it is nice and cheap. The hand cannons are going to be an excellent sort of stopgap until you can get your own sort of pushing unit here in the form of your own champions. And this still feels like Nikov is slowly constricting his opponent.
Love this from Hera, though. He knows he needs the gold, and this is getting really bad, so he's going to at least come to the middle for some share of the gold. Nikov may notice that. Nikov grinding down a castle in the north and gating it off nicely. And Nikov will probably start to push on the right. Nikov is fully pop-capped, but pretty much. So he's not really in an... He can't add much more than he has, which could be an issue.
Oh, the villagers have been spotted out there by Nikov. It's getting closer.
And Hera has Champ on the way. He has 29 of these. It's still not a big ball of hand cannons for Nikov. It's just a small group. And Hera's castle will complete. Now, it still doesn't give him long-term control over the gold. He still needs an answer to the Trebs. It's still really difficult. But he's trying here.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Hera is quite possibly just the toughest toughest character to kill off in the entire roster of AoE 2 players.
Yeah. And here he goes. 55 on food, 0 on gold. He'll take some Trebs. But the champion upgrade wasn't in yet. And he falls back into the castle. Now champion completes. That's a really sad order of events there, if you ask me.
Yeah, Harris still is struggling for gold, however. I don't think he ever even got the guild's upgrade. No, he did not. And that castle's going to go down basically as fast as it goes up in the first place. And champion is now in for Nikov at the very least. No Woot Steel yet.
Yeah. Nikov... He would love to sneak a couple docks up here, I bet. Like, sneaking up a couple docks and trying to compete back on water feels like a nice play. But he also can just camp the gold.
Just like 4 or 5 Therisati.
Is that how you're supposed to say that? I always say
it's a made-up ship anyway. It doesn't matter.
I always say like Teresa died. Teresa die.
Miss Teresa die.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Teresa. I hope she does well. But, like, you know, in this case, Teresa die.
I have no idea, man. I try to pronounce stuff correctly, and people always get mad at me. So I've just given up.
Like the equivalent of someone trying to win an Age of Empires. What a try hard. Oh, he tries too hard. How dare you try and pronounce things properly. I mean, Hera doesn't have gold. And he is pushing somewhat on the gold in the north. I don't know how. I don't know why, but he's doing it. And he's still also kind of holding with his skirms and his champions. I mean, this is, as we said before, only 5 relics should not be enough gold, but he has continued to sell. The prices are getting worse and worse, but he's giving himself a chance.
He still has 13 bills on stone, so he's got a little bit of that left. Nikov still needs to finish off that champion switch. It's going to be sort of, it's still his end goal, and he needs to keep his population up in that time frame. My big concern right now for Nikov is that his eco balance is just terrible.
Yeah,
he
he can't.
So much wood when he doesn't need it.
Yeah, but that's because he has to focus on the fight so frequently, and if he loses one fight, he loses the gold. So in his mind, it's maybe worth only having 20 or so food. I think this fight is decent enough for Nikov, considering that he can make more units and Hera can't. But Hera will send some of the champions after these bombard cannons. And so he's not losing any more ground there. Now on the other side, there's Trebs and there's bombard cannons to pay attention to. But you're right, Nikov needs to find a corner and needs to farm. Get up to like 40 on food, and then he can go for champion spam.
The thing is, Hera has basically perfect eco balance considering the situation.
Yeah,
so
with no
think
gold. Yeah,
with no gold. And I think that, again, we need to, if you want to beat Hera, you need to be able to match that. And right now, that is just not the case, as Hera is pushing his opponent back. He has a 50 pop lead, despite having no map control.
No golds, bro. No golds. And you worry now for Nikov that he might actually have to buy food. Like, you have to resist buying food as much as possible here, because it actually helps Hera sell it and get more gold in return.
Like, he just needs to go for his own champion plus some hand cannons perhaps in the back.
Yeah.
And right now, he is simply getting out macroed by Hera.
Yeah, big time.
Hera has a better eco setup. He's got his production buildings, and he's just flooding across the map because he's hitting his cycles better.
Well, also, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it was pretty much going to reiterate the same thing. This could lead to Nikov taking some fights before he has the proper numbers. And Hera using these champions in these skirms. You just wonder if the champions for Dravidians are good enough. I haven't seen the matchup before to know which champions are superior here in a straight-up engagement.
Yeah, I have no idea either. It's just 2 new civs that I just never have gotten around to testing.
Funnily enough, Nikov, he only has 4 on gold now. He is up to 50 farms, but he's losing ground. So he needs to start spamming vills to the right side to get more on gold. But he now has a big ball of champions on the right, and maybe Hera will lose that castle now. This is crazy.
Despite having no map control, Hera still had so much gold with which to work, which feels like a huge win from him in that regard. Or, not gold, sorry, stone.
Yeah.
And has been able to keep these castles, 1, be built, and 2, standing when they have been built.
But that castle, bro, that castle can't be it. Hera's like, I gotta win this side now. Is that castle actually the play here, Hera? You're gonna lose a lot of vills. You're gonna lose a lot of vills.
I don't think this is a great castle from Hera. What's Nikov gonna do to stop it?
No, use the bombard cannon. Nikov could have clicked it. He didn't have it down. And on the right side, Nikov's completely losing track of his army, and it's gone underneath Hera's castle. The Hera will dive forward again, but the castle will fall. Nikov's kept those hand cannons alive, but dude, what if we have a full reset here? What if they both have access to gold, and it's actually 200 pop?
Then Hera should win with better macro, right?
Yeah, but the Ornluz, where's your positivity? Where's your positivity? Okay, put a smile, turn that frown upside down, all right, and think positively here for Nikov. You look down in the south. He's got the farms, all right. The farms are there. They're good. He's got military buildings over on this side to contest the castle. He's got bombard cannons. He's grinding down the TCs. Hera's losing his farming eco. So I know. I understand. Hera's got the water control and Hera's Hera, but Nikov's still making something happen here.
Oh, he's not giving up, and the fact that this game is even competitive, I think, is already... I mean, it's given us a reason to be excited about this series, even if Nikov will unfortunately lose it, which is obviously, again, no guarantee at all. But you just look at the queues right now, T90. That just feels like the whole story.
Yeah, and if Hera was able to queue champions without access to gold, and now he is 28 on golds, it is hard to believe that he is going to lose this game. The bombard cannons get sniped. The trebuchets will be exposed. I think Hera's castle may stay up. Hera's still got a castle to defend on the other side, but Nikov doesn't have bombard cannons in a mass yet. But champion raid could be decent. So there he goes. Hera's actually gating next to the castle to slow those champions down, but they should be able to make it past.
They will. Trebuchet is very low and will go down, but not before destroying the enemy castle. Now, Hera's killed a lot of Vills this game. He's, under the radar killed over 100 of his opponent's Vills, so Nikov does need to replenish that. But again, you just need to keep hitting the swordsman button. Hit that S button or whatever hotkey you use.
Well, Hera will push the right side. He lost both of his castles there, which is all Nikov wanted to accomplish. Nikov does have more coming to this gold, by the way. And so now Hera needs to defend his gold again against bombard cannons. And all of his production just went to that right corner to defend. So you can still see skirmishers headed that way, actually. He needs army on this side now. And his production buildings aren't close by. What a game.
Yeah, this is absolutely still winnable from Nikov, guys. He still even has a very slight score lead. And that castle going down, guys, that's 0 castles left for Hera.
Yeah.
He's got very little stone with which to work. And without any castles, well, obviously no more trebuchets. And then it's going to become very difficult to actually kill Nikov.
And then Nikov, there's no army here to defend the trebs, so Nikov will dive in. Hera can't use the trebs against the bombard cannons anymore. Hera's about to be castleless. He might be goldless again soon. And where's his population? It's still all caught up on the other side. And then he does have a small raiding force. Dude, if that goes into Nikov's farming eco, Nikov's gonna have a horrible time, dude. Oh man.
This is just like taking a group of units and patrolling across the map.
Bro.
I think it's actually going to be insane.
This is insane. This is actually insane. That's the best spot to raid. That is the best spot for Hera to raid. And it's the best thing for him to try and do as he just repairs his castle to buy himself time. And now Nikov will need to get champions here, and he'll need to completely abandon this area. Oh, my word. Hera's got to spread out his units, though.
Hera only has 6,000 more res collected.
And Nikov's raiding the north as well right now. So...
Yeah. But Hera's made so many more units. Like, Nikov has a great KD.
Yeah, true.
But
yeah,
it's just not having the numbers of units you need.
I think elephant archers might actually be really good. Well, the food eco is horrible. Yeah, food eco is horrible.
The issue.
Arbalest might actually be decent. Hera's off gold! Or he's gonna be off of gold! Who is dying faster? Nikov won't have farms. Hera won't have golds. This game is crazy, bro. This is crazy. Nikov is losing every single farmer, it feels like. But look how many Vills he has queue. He has 30 Vills in queue to replenish his losses.
I like that a lot. I like 57 champions in the queue a lot more.
Freaking Orn. Yeah, but I like gold, Ornlu. I like gold. There's positivity here for Nikov, all right? We don't want the double reverse sweep in the semifinal, all right? We want this push from Nikov. This is good. Hera's got 54 champions in queue. But can he engage against the skirmishers? Oh, man. This is crazy. This is unbelievable.
It is a wild back and forth game, and I think a lesser player than Hera would have died ages ago.
Yeah, agreed.
He's had a good TC right on the coastline.
Yeah, and what Hera also needs over here is barracks. I find what's been good for him has been production, but he actually needs a few more production buildings in this corner. That's what's benefited Nikov. But I think you might be right, Ornlu. I just think Hera's raid has actually been the more damaging raid. It's way harder to get to 50 on food than it is to get back to gold, because you don't need to really place any farms or anything. And this could be the sweep Hera's just walking over every single farm. Nikov doesn't even have the wood to add more farms, honestly.
He's stuck. He needs to just take fights that are so efficient that I don't think it's possible. It's 16 champs to 67 and counting.
Hera
and Skirms just deal 1 damage.
It's funny, though, because Hera can't make trebs. So, like, Hera needs to buy a castle, basically. Or go for Dramens from the shoreline, which can only work in some areas. All right. Well, Nikov certainly has put up a fight. He's down to 140 pop. I wonder if Nikov doesn't even... I wonder if he gets pushed out of this corner, if he doesn't just call it here.
I mean, despite what the score says, it feels so rough for Nikov to do anything. He's lost another, like, 40 villagers in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah. What a game. I will say, if I'm Leary watching this right now, I know this isn't necessarily the best map for Leary either, maybe. But I think I might be game planning for this a little bit for the finals. Because it is a map that, I mean, when things have looked reasonably easy at times for Hera, it's been a struggle on. But losing against Sebastian and then having to fight like this here. But I think Hera's going to be very happy with his performance to fight back. He made 315 champions. He held on. And again, another amazing strategy and position from Nikov and overall opening. But Hera just out-executes and gets the job done. What a game.
396 military units made to 574.
Crazy.
With an eco difference that wasn't that significant. Hera also had double the stone of his opponent, so he was just able to keep making castles even when they were going down, and Nikov was not able to do the same thing.
Yep, that was sick. And the Navy did... Like, it did delay his boom. It did delay the focus on the gold, but it also did have a lot of benefit over time. I'm just selecting some of these ships. He doesn't actually have a ton left. Maybe deleted some. But he got 30 kills there, 20 of which were on Vills. Who knows if they were on important military units. It also, having that water presence made it very difficult for Nikov to know where to build up. And ultimately, the recognition from Hera that, yeah, he's got the golds locked down, but he doesn't have anything protecting that farming eco was the key. So we'll have to ask him about that. That was a really good raid. And not one that I was really thinking could happen until Hera started to send the units there.
I mean, it was perfect, right? He cleaned up the army in the east, realized all the fighting was happening in the west, so just walk across the map. The castles have to be far away from the shoreline because of the Drummons, so you can just walk right past them.
Yeah. I think, honestly, someone just said one of the wildest 4-0s I've seen. Yep. The games did not necessarily tell the scoreline. Yeah, I agree. I felt as though Nikov played a bit better than the 4-0 suggests. But this is what Hera's known for, right? Is even if he starts to fall behind, you think he's going to claw his way back. It's either that or he just gets ahead and stays ahead. So not the longest semifinal day ever as far as the show is concerned. But what I can tell you is that the final should be very competitive. Every time the two finalists face up against each other, it's always insane. And you have like these two unstoppable forces on opposite sides of the bracket who will meet tomorrow, Ornlu. So that should be a treat. And alrighty, should be good to go. Hera, congratulations. How are you feeling after that semifinal? Well, he's actually muted at the moment. I don't know if you're intentionally muted and getting ready.
Oh, sorry. No. I said something.
All good, bro.
No, thank you. I'm actually feeling great after the semifinal, and I'm really happy to win.
I almost want to ask you about the fourth game, but I think we should do the traditional order here. I asked you yesterday what you felt confidence-wise coming into the series, but I want to ask you what you thought Nikov was going to send your way today. Like, did you expect craziness? Did you expect him to try and match you in certain ways? Like, what were your expectations?
The way I see Nikov is that he's an amazing player overall, very well-rounded, and especially, I would say, in his early game. Like, the first 15 minutes of the game, I feel like he comes with a good build order. He's really precise with how he micros. If there's any weakness that he has, is maybe like the late game, some of the vills, maybe get a little bit out of control and some macro slips a little bit. But, the first 15 minutes are super dangerous. And I was really worried about basically the first 15 minutes on every game.
Okay, so... to steal Ornlu's turn here, then game number 1, you go Khmer versus Japanese. Like, you built the outpost, you went fast town watch. I assume you knew that it was going to get crazy?
Yeah, I was hoping to stop the dock villager, but that guy still snuck through, sadly. But yeah, I think the outpost on Town Watch was just like the solution to me having a kind of open map, and I loved it. Honestly, it felt really good.
Okay, and then Khmer on Cross instead of like Rocky Forest in upcoming maps was what's the logic there?
Um, I mean, for me, the Khmer was supposed to be like a nice, skip barracks. You fight with a stable early, and a nice response to Japanese in case I get meta arm rushed. I can go for fast archers. It didn't pan out as well as I thought. Obviously on Rocky Forest they're really good, but I had Georgians for Rocky Forest if I needed. So I think I would have been fine. With either Khmer or Georgians. And I just felt like Khmer would be really nice on cross. Didn't really feel that good, but the Scorpions were at least a really good counter to the CA at least.
Okay, thank you, Orlu.
Well, thanks for stealing my questions.
Sorry.
Really appreciate it. No. It's just good, solid performance. I was curious about the Khmer pick as well, but I think that is a very good explanation.
Okay, well, okay, well then I'll skip the next question, Orlu, and then I'll go to you right away instead of doing 3 in a row like an idiot. I think game 2 was fortified clearing, if I'm not mistaken. Shoot,
Yes.
It was. Okay, thank you. Hera, I mean, trust with Portuguese. Tell me about that, man. I mean, was that something that you felt you had to do because of the matchup? Did you initially want Burgundians on the draft? That was out of left field.
Well, I don't know. I felt like I can't play Light Cav versus Burgundians, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm caught off guard quite a bit by his fast feudal age. I really didn't expect that. The point was to delay him and not let him get a fast castle Light Cav smooth play. It didn't really work out as planned. But yeah, I don't know why he went fast feudal, to be honest, dude. I'd love to ask him.
Go ahead, Orlu. Sorry.
Oh no. When you saw the knights come in from the forward, do you think it would have been better if you had waited for a Scorpion or a Ram or Mangonel? Because it felt like with your really good reaction that they didn't really get all that much damage done.
The knights on the bottom, like in my base.
Yeah, with the forward.
Yeah. No, I think sending them in was super scary. Had I messed up one like little reaction, one little quick wall, or wasn't looking, I would basically lose on the spot. So it was a good play. It was a bit fortunate and some good reactions for me to just be there and quick wall. But had I messed up even a little, I would just be dead on the spot.
So just to keep asking on that game then, so do you feel it benefited him to have gone feudal age? Like, did you go Feitorias because you felt like, you were just so far behind at that point?
No, I went Feitoria because I played a 2v2 with my wife and posted on YouTube today actually, where we went for fast and Feitoria and it felt insane. So because I played that 2v2, I kind of felt like, oh man, this Feitoria thing is actually really nice. So I
what
think
elo?
I
What
thought it was,
elo
like, the
were
perfect
these?
situation.
What elo were these players?
No, it was good. Like we played against two like 1900s, and we managed to win. It was amazing strategy. We went like fast in Feitoria, and I slung her, and she went Cumans into Paladin and infinite res. It was
You
it was
slung
actually fantastic
in a
game.
ranked game, bro.
No, it was such a good
Wow.
strategy. Like it was not cheesy sling. It's fast in Portuguese sling with infinite res.
I
Like,
mean-
it was probably the best strategy I've ever come up with, or I ever done. I don't know if I came up with it, but
Okay.
it was amazing strategy.
No, it's that is the 2TC human boom into Sling Goth's 210 population swordsman.
It's similar, but I like the infinite res. But anyway, back to this game. I went for the Feitoria because I really like how that follows up when you have no economy.
Yeah,
Like, again, I felt it was crazy in the 2v2, and I felt it was crazy in this 1v1 as well. I did have a little bit of a hiccup when he swooped in with the Rams that caught me off guard. But luckily I was able to stabilize.
Yeah. I mean, I just like the mind game of it all, right? I don't know how much you saw, but you added, like, I think 1 organ, 2 organs. And because organs are so, like, busted at times, he had to respect it. And so, yeah, lost the TC, has to go double Mangonel against the push that never comes, and then the fast imp was perfect. So then at that point, I mean, if there was a game where I could question things at all here today, it definitely would have been game 3. You went Cumans. Everyone's thinking second TC. Why forward there?
Again, you have to ask Nikov. I don't know how he didn't go for the fast castle phosphor rush. Like I can't understand why he went for full wall, one range defensive opening against Cumin, who's obviously 2TC booming.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand that.
So you
Maybe he probably, like, I was trying to mind game him. Maybe he outsmarted me and mind game me, but that was so strange to me.
Yeah, because that's kind of what we thought. Is like you
Yeah.
thought it would be absolutely stupid to do what he did, and he did the exact same. Oh man.
And it was like the perfect reaction to what I was going for. Like, I feel like a casual viewer there would not understand like why, why would I go forward like that? But I think, like, if you really think about the matchup in depth, you'll realize that it is a fair option, but it was like the worst strategy I could have picked in hindsight.
Okay, got it.
And why Cumin's on that map in particular? And if you're not giving anything away.
No, nothing to give away anyway. It's just the finals tomorrow. Just felt like 2TC Boom is an easy game plan. But
So that was the initial game plan? You weren't planning on going forward?
no, I was planning
okay.
to just boom, but I wanted to respect the phosphor rush, like the fast castle all in wagons, and I kind of just lost the rock paper scissors on the strategy basically.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. And then game 4, I mean, crazy game. I just want to ask you like how you felt your chances were when you get pushed off of gold and you've got 0 gold for a significant period of time there.
I don't know. I felt like I was losing as soon as I lost the tower rush. So I was just trying to go all in as possible. And I basically did against him what Sebastian tried to do against me, or did against me with some success yesterday as well, which is just basically 1 TC and you go heavy skirm, knight, siege with all upgrades. And it's really difficult to stop that if you're not expecting it. So because I was already back to the wall, game was already screwed, I felt like that was a good option to try to save it.
Okay, yeah, which you were correct. You were behind. But also like game 4, you have water. You have the boom, but you have no gold, and you're teching champ.
Oh, you're talking about that game? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It's a good answer for both. That's fine.
Yeah, it was a good answer for game 3.
Well, again, actually, the same answer applies. I was in a bad situation, lost the water from the early game, and I don't know. I had the 5 relics. They really carried me, to be honest. I didn't feel like I was ever lacking gold, to be honest with you. I had everything I needed, gold-wise.
Yeah.
The problem, though, is that he has infinite gold, and that's what was hard for me. He can basically lose 10 cannons, and it's not like there's any consequences. He can just make another 10. I'd have to grind him out for like an hour with him having virtually infinite gold, and that's unplayable. So what I had to do was try to make the game messy, push from one side to another, and have to break one side. And I think the critical moment was when I went for the castle, basically underneath his castle, and I just reclaimed that left side or that top side and took some gold. That was just so important for me.
Okay, yeah, bought you a lot of time. I would also say, I mean, there were a lot of critical moments, but when you hit his food eco, like, like it was a weird one where you had all the food in the world and no gold, and then he had no food, and it was essentially a champion war at that stage. So,
yeah, the game was actually really incredible. Like, there was a really back and forth. I felt like even at the end there, I was raiding his food because he pushed me off gold and he had so much army in my base. I felt like I was not really, guaranteed winning still, and it was just a good game. I had a lot of fun playing it as well.
sick.
Yeah, just a very competitive game. Do you know, Hera, if Armenian champs beat Dravidian champs? Because we didn't know.
Yeah, I know. And the reason is I played against Viper once in a ranked game. He was Dravidians and I was Armenians, and I beat him with champions, and he tried to go his champs and he died.
Okay, so the HP trumps all.
Yeah.
Which is
and
what
they're
I
also way
assumed.
more tanky. So
Yeah.
like the attack is not that good. And they lose 1v1, so it's rough.
Got it. Okay. Well, Hera, you're up against Leary tomorrow in the finals, which you've had happen a lot in your career. It's always a treat to watch. Any thoughts on that matchup before the big day tomorrow?
No, it's gonna be a fun one. I don't have any crazy thoughts, but I hope for a nice final. And yeah, I'm actually happy for Leary to get to another final. We played the last tournament, which is NAC, in the finals as well, so it's good to have that rematch.
Sick. Well, I mean, with how today went, there's no question that you two are the best in the world, best in the tournament. So looking forward to it, man, and wish you the best tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I hope you guys had a good cast, and I'll see the chat tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, everyone, and enjoy.
See ya.
Yeah, good job, man. Good luck in the finals.
Alrighty, Orloom. I mean, 2 unstoppable freight trains hit the semifinals today. and crushed their opponents. Their opponents, of course, had great run. I hope Nikov's not too bummed, and I hope that's the same with Dark. But what should happen, what will hopefully happen, is a really competitive final today. Or tomorrow, sorry.
The final is happening right now, guys. Surprise.
Do you have any additional thoughts as far as the Leary Hera matchup tomorrow? Because we won't be talking. It's happened so many times.
No, I think that it's still going to be a very competitive matchup. I think that it's still going to be tough for Leary, as it's been a while since he's been able to beat Hera.
Mm-hmm.
But Leary has absolutely displayed the skill level you need to beat Hera. His precision in early game, his micro, it's all been fantastic. This could easily be a very, very close series.
So at Noble Apartment Cup, it was the best of 9 final between these two, right? And I said to Dave before, I said, I really hope Leary doesn't mind game himself away from his own strengths because of the track record. Because there's so many times where we'd go down to the final game and he'd lose. And then you could tell yourself, oh, I need a surprise. And I saw the draft, and before any of the games happened, I literally was just like, he did it. And I think he picked Humans third. He picked all these picks that don't suit Leary, because I think there is a confidence issue there. So I think that's so good for Hera, because Hera has no reason to not trust himself. But if we see both of these two playing their best, both in the draft and overall gameplay, I think we get 7. Because every time these two have been at their absolute best, it's 7 games. So that's what I'm hoping for, obviously, especially after the 2 sweeps today. But should be good, man. Should be good.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Thanks again for joining. Thanks for rushing home from your date to get here as well. Tell her.
It was still a lot of fun, man.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you, Ornlu. Appreciate it, bro.
Oh, before I sign off, I hope you don't mind. Just to let all your viewers know, Valhalla 2 starts on Monday. So obviously big finals tomorrow, but there is another tournament that's going to be happening. Microsoft sponsored, hosting it with John Slow, and that'll be happening for the next several weeks. So hopefully you guys will be interested in that.
Absolutely. I
was told I had to sell out, and
who John Slow?
I do my best.
John Slow said that?
No, the admin said that.
The admin said that. Oh, okay. All good. Well, hey, not a problem, dude. I'll send people your way for that, and thanks again.
Yeah, of course. Enjoy the rest of the finals.
See you.